O eternal and almighty God, from whom all power and wisdom come, we are assembled here before thee to frame such laws as may tend to the welfare and prosperity of our province. Grant, O merciful God, we pray thee, that we may desire only that which is in accordance with thy will, that we may seek it with wisdom and know it with certainty and accomplish it perfectly. For the glory and honor of thy name and for the welfare of all our people. Amen. We acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory, and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabeg, Dakota Oite, Dene, Sulene, and Neothog nations. We acknowledge Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis. We acknowledge northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Please be seated. Routine proceedings, introduction of bills. The Honourable Member for St. Boniface.
Honourable Speaker, I move, seconded by the MLA for Kirkfield Park, that Bill 218, the Climate Action Month Act, Commemoration of Days, Weeks, and Months Act, amended, Loi sur les mois de la lutte contre les changements climatiques, modification de la loi sur les journées, les semaines et les mois commémoratifs, be now read for a first time.
Been moved by the Honourable Member for St. Boniface, seconded by the Honourable Member for Kirkfield Park, that Bill number 218, the Climate Action Month Act, Commemoration of Days, Weeks, and Months Act amended, be now read for a first time. The Honourable Member for St. Boniface.
Honourable Speaker, this bill creates Climate Action Month in Manitoba, a month dedicated to recognize the real and growing impacts of climate change and the urgent need for collective action. Nous savons ce qui est en jeu, des inondations, des sécheresses et des feux de forêt plus graves, des menaces pour l'agriculture, des risques pour la santé des Manitobains, ainsi que des répercussions sur les communautés du Nord et les communautés autochtones. Les changements climatiques ne sont plus un avertissement lointain, ils transforment déjà la vie dans notre province. Climate Action Month gives Manitobans the space to learn, reflect, and act. It reinforces our government's commitment to clean energy, good green jobs, and protecting the land and water we all depend on. And after years of cuts and neglect from the previous government, this bill signals a new direction where environment, responsibility, and economic growth go hand in hand. Honourable Speaker, this bill is a call to prepare our province for the future, a call to empower our communities, and will ensure Manitoba remains a place where generations to come can live the good life with the environment they love. Thank you, Miigwech. Merci.
The Honourable Member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the member for...
Sorry. Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed, and so ordered. The motion is accordingly carried. The Honourable Member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the member for La-Vérendrye, that Bill 206, the Specialist Wait Time Reporting Act, be now read a first time.
Been moved by the Honourable Member for Roblin, seconded by the Honourable Member for La-Vérendrye, that Bill number 206, the Specialist Wait Time Reporting Act, be now read a first time. The Honourable Member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Right now, when a Manitoba patient is referred to see a specialist, they have no idea how long wait times really are, because these wait times are not tracked and reported. Bill 206 will require the minister to publicly report every 6 months on the average wait time to see a specialist and the total number of patients waiting for each of the 43 specialties recognized by the College of Physicians and Surgeons. It will also require reporting on the average wait time after a patient consults with the specialist to when that patient first receives specialist care. What gets measured gets managed. Measuring and reporting on this data will improve transparency and accountability for Manitoba patients, and I look forward to debating and passing this bill.
Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed and so ordered. The motion is accordingly carried. The honourable member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the member for Morden Winkler, that Bill 207, the Health System Governance and Accountability Amendment Act, reporting when timely care not available, be now read a first time.
Moved by the honourable member for Roblin, seconded by the honourable member for Morden Winkler, that Bill number 207, the Health System Governance and Accountability Amendment Act, reporting when timely care not available, be now read a first time. The honourable member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I am once again introducing Bill 207, or as it is known, Debbie's Law, a common-sense bill that puts patients first by mandating transparency and accountability when our healthcare system cannot deliver timely, life-saving care. This legislation is named for Debbie Fuster, a Manitoban who tragically died while she waited in vain for urgent cardiac care. It's for her family and for the many other Manitobans who deserve answers. I urge all members to support this compassionate, common-sense legislation. Thank you.
Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed and so ordered. The motion is accordingly passed. The honourable member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the member for Agassiz, that Bill 213, the Earlier Screening for Breast Cancer Act, be now read a first time.
And moved by the honourable member for Roblin, seconded by the honourable member for Agassiz, that Bill number 213, the Earlier Screening for Breast Cancer Act, be now read for a first time. The honourable member for Roblin.
I am once again introducing Bill 213, the Earlier Screening for Breast Cancer Act, a bill that has passed second reading twice with no opposition, only for the current NDP government to allow it to die on the order paper. This bill will require the government to lower the age for routine breast screening to age 40 by the end of next year, which would bring Manitoba in line with nearly every other province that has already taken this step. Early detection saves lives. And for that reason, I'm hoping the third time is the charm and the NDP will finally pass this important legislation.
Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed and so ordered. The motion is accordingly carried. Committee reports. Tabling of reports, and I have a report in accordance with sections 15(1) and 15(3) of the Seniors Advocate Act. I'm tabling the preliminary annual report and service plan of the Manitoba Seniors Advocate. The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm pleased to table the annual reports for the year ending March 31st, 2025 for Manitoba Institute of Trades and Technology and Assiniboine College.
The Honourable Minister Justice.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm pleased to table pursuant to the Statutes and Regulations Act. A copy of each regulation registered under the Act after the last regulation tabled in this House in more than 14 days before the commencement of this session.
Ministerial statements. The Honourable First Minister.
Nothing else matters unless our kids are safe. I want to take this opportunity to address the incident that happened at Darwin School last week, something that should never take place in our province, something that I condemn in the strongest possible terms. Every child deserves to grow up free from harm and to be able to reach their full potential. My thoughts are with this child and their family. This child did everything right, and so did their parents. So to the children at Darwin School and across Manitoba who may be worried about what they've been hearing, I want to speak to you. We just want to make sure that you know that what happened was not your fault, and you did nothing wrong. In fact, when I heard what happened, I thought that you did everything right, and thank goodness that you did. So to all the kids, of course, you did nothing wrong. And you will be safe at school, and we will protect you. Your teachers and the people who work at your school will protect you. The police will protect you, and your government will protect you. And to the parents out there, You are right to trust your kids to be safe at schools. You're doing the right thing, sending your kids to schools each and every day so that they can learn, so that they can grow, so that they can reach their full potential with peers and new experiences and tons of fun along the way. And your expectation that when you send your kids to school in the morning, they will come home safely at the end of the school day is a fundamental guarantee that our society must uphold and that our government will ensure is kept. To the teachers, staff, and school leaders out there, we will continue to be there to support you. You care, and you go the extra mile for your kids. Now, the person who did this has something very, very wrong with them. They are in jail, and the justice system will deal with it. Schools in Manitoba are safe, and we're making sure that not only are they safe, but that there's supports for kids to talk to, for parents to reach out to if they need additional support, and for the people who work in the schools as well to be able to process what they've experienced. And here's what we're doing as your government to make our schools in Manitoba even safer in the future. Immediately, our Minister of Education has earmarked new funding for the Manitoba School Boards Association and is asking them by Christmas to update their school safety plans in light of what happened at Darwin School. We also know that most schools in the province are working with controlled access points. And while we're not issuing a formal directive today, we are saying that every school in Manitoba should be moving in this direction. It makes sense to be able to control who's entering the premises when schools are there. And of course, we want to ensure that every precaution is being taken to protect kids while they're in the building. We're also going to work with communities and law enforcement across the province to support the presence of school resource officers in our schools, as well as other security options that might meet local needs. Here I'm thinking about northern communities where a different sort of arrangement might make sense for their reality. Students, community people, school staff, and others all did the right thing in this situation. And eventually, it was police officers and some security guards who stopped this bad guy. So clearly, there is a role for school resource officers. As your government, we are here today with a simple message. Children, you are safe. Parents, your children are safe. And to those who work in our schools, we will protect you too. Because in Manitoba, we know that every child matters.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Honourable Speaker, I rise today to respond to the deeply troubling and alarming event that occurred this past Thursday at Darwin School in St. Vital, in which an adult stranger entered the school, hid in the washroom stall, and grabbed a child who had been using the facilities. There is absolutely no place in our schools, in our communities, in our province for behavior that puts our children at risk. Our thoughts are with the student, their families, and all students, staff, and families at Darwin School. This should never have happened in the first place. It should never happen at any school. I want to thank the brave student, the brave students, the school staff, the witnesses, and the witness whose action led to the prompt arrest of the suspect. This type of incident demands that we take serious action and questions about school safety for our children. How was such an individual able to gain access? And what more must we do to prevent any reoccurrence? While the fact that the school's hold and secure protocol was activated and worked as designed, it is important and it is clear we must do more. Repeat violent offenders like this individual should never have been out on the streets in the first place. We, as legislatures, as parents, as Manitobans, must do more to protect all children. Honourable Speaker, Manitoba families expect and deserve safety in their children's school. Parents entrust our schools, our teachers, with their children's care, and it is crucial to ensure that trust is honored. I, as a parent, the safety of your child and my child is of utmost importance. And I promise you, We, on this side of the House, will do everything in our power to protect your child. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Sport, Culture, Heritage and Tourism.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today I rise to celebrate the incredible life of Carol Vivier and the remarkable contributions she made to our province. Carol was a visionary leader whose passion and determination had a significant impact on Manitoba's creative landscape. Carol began her journey with Manitoba Film and Music in 1985 and served as CEO and Film Commissioner for an incredible 26 years. When she accepted the role, she was determined to make Manitoba a thriving hub of film and music. Carol pioneered the first film tax credit in Western Canada and introduced innovative incentives that attracted repeat productions in our province. Thanks in large part to her tenacity and leadership, film production in Manitoba grew from $12 million in the early 1990s to over $269 million in 2019. Carol passionately championed the growth of Canadian music and supported the careers of major artists, helping them shine on the global stage at music festivals and events around the world. She also had a key role in bringing the Juno Awards to Winnipeg in 2005, and even co-chaired the Juno Host Committee in 2014. Honourable Speaker, if all that wasn't impressive enough, Carol served on numerous boards, including, but not limited to, the National Screen Institute, the RBC Convention Centre of Winnipeg, the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television, the Canadian Film Centre Feature Film Advisory Committee, the Burton Cummings Theatre Performing Arts Group, the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, and Film Training Manitoba. In 2023, Carol was appointed as board chair for Travel Manitoba. Under her leadership, Travel Manitoba achieved remarkable progress, including the launch of their new award-winning brand, Canada's Heart is Calling. Her contributions to arts and culture communities have even been recognized on the national stage. Carol received the Queen Elizabeth II's Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2012, the Order of Manitoba in 2014, and the Order of Canada in 2024. These honors reflect a lifetime of dedication to Manitoba's film and music community. Carol was not only a leader, but a connector, building relationships with warmth and authenticity. Her vision and passion for supporting and advocating for Manitoba's artists and creators will continue to inspire us all for years to come. Honourable Speaker, we are joined in the gallery today by several of Carol's friends and family, and I'd like to acknowledge them. We have Rick Vivier, Brandis Vivier, Rob Burns, Ali Pumala, Craig Pumala, Carson Pumala, William Pumala, Jack Pumala, and Emily Pumala. I ask that all members rise and join me in honoring Carol Vivier, a trailblazer, a mentor, and a tireless advocate for the arts and cultures in our province. Thank you.
Prior to recognizing another speaker, there's some guests in the gallery that will be leaving shortly, so I want to acknowledge them. We have seated in the public gallery from Niverville High School, 40 grade 9 students under the direction of Julie Ann Kadnak, and this group is located in the constituency and the Honourable Member for Springfield-Rashad. The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
Honourable Speaker, I rise to remember Carol Vivier, a champion of the arts right here in Manitoba. Carol Vivier served the Manitoba arts community with dedication and perseverance. She knew the importance of promoting art and culture. She was a tenacious and an innovator. Carol began working at Manitoba Film and Music in 1985 and went on to serve as the agency's CEO and film commissioner for 26 years, from 1993 to 2019. She was a trailblazer, pioneering Western Canada's first film tax credit. It was through her efforts that Manitoba's film industry grew from 12 million in the early 1990s to over 269 million by 2019. Under her leadership, Manitoba managed to attract many major film productions, including Capote, A Dog's Purpose, and Carol was deeply devoted to supporting artists' full creative visions, and her passion was evident in every aspect of her work. She would personally provide film producers and directors with a tour of Winnipeg to scout possible set locations across local businesses, parks, and landmarks. Carol was also a staunch supporter of the careers of several Manitoban artists, including Guy Madden, Norma Bailey, Madison Thomas, and other cultural talent. In addition to her work in film, Carol had a deep influence on the Manitoba's music scene. During her leadership, Manitoba Music and Film supported the careers of many major Manitoban artists, including Royal Canoe, Begonia, The Lytics, Crash Test Dummies, and many, many more. She helped propel many artists onto the world stage by maintaining a presence at music festivals and events around the world. Carol also served on numerous boards and played a key role in bringing the Juno Awards to Winnipeg in 2014. Her engagement with the arts and the support she provided was not just work to her, it was a labor of love. It is with deep sadness and respect that we recognize her passing. Her work shaped countless lives and careers. The impact that Carol Vivier had on Manitoban arts community cannot be understated. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. On this side of the House, we're all wearing red ribbons as today is World AIDS Day, and it's a very important day to mark. However, I would like to make a statement today in regards to our proclamation of November 2025 as Lung Cancer Awareness Month. Honourable Speaker, lung cancer does not discriminate. Lung cancer is, in fact, the leading cause of cancer-related deaths for all genders in Canada. It claims more lives every year than breast, prostate, and colon cancers combined. An estimated 20,700 Canadians died from lung cancer in 2024. And these are not just statistics and numbers. These are our loved ones. They represent our neighbors, coworkers, community members, and friends. There's a need for more research, we know this, awareness and education as well, to challenge and dispel the stigma and misconceptions that surround lung cancer. Our government is committed to improving cancer care, strengthening research, and providing Manitobans with equitable access to high-quality, compassionate treatment. We've already taken a number of steps, and we will continue to meet with experts, organizations, and affected families so that we can do more by working together. Today, I want to take a moment to honor the memory of someone who's already been acknowledged, Carol Vivier, whose family and friends are here with us in the gallery. Carol passed away earlier this year after a courageous and prolonged battle with lung cancer. She was a beloved wife of 54 years, a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, sister, and friend, and beyond that, she was an advocate for lung cancer awareness, specifically radon awareness. I had the honor of working with Carol and Kelly and members of their lung cancer patient support group in order to bring forward the first proclamation for lung cancer awareness last year. And I had the honor today to chat again with some of these lovely folks, including Kelly, to talk about how we can not only honor the work of Carol and so many others who have unfortunately we've lost too soon, but continue to do the work together to move Manitoba in a better direction. What I know is that Carol wanted us all to understand that radon can be a cause of lung cancer. She was really passionate about this cause. Her legacy reminds us of the human face of this illness, one of courage, compassion, and one of community. And so as we mark Lung Cancer Awareness Month, we honor all Manitobans affected by this cruel disease who fight the battle each and every day with bravery, their loved ones who support them, and the healthcare professionals who provide compassionate and expert care. I ask that the House observe 1 minute of silence in memory of all Manitobans who have lost their lives to lung cancer and in honor of Carol. And Honourable Speaker, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge guests who are in the gallery, who are advocates for lung cancer awareness, folks here in Manitoba who have been doing this work for some time. We've got Juliette Matra from the Manitoba Lung Association, Sandy Hutchison from Health Canada, Pam Workington from the Canadian Association of Radon Scientists and Technologists, Kelly and Allison, lung cancer patient advocate group members, and of course, Carol Vivier's family. If we could all rise and acknowledge these guests and the importance of their commitment to improving this area of healthcare and outcomes for Manitobans. Thank you.
Is there leave for a moment of silence at the conclusion of the Honourable Member for Roblin's response? Agreed and so ordered. The Honourable Member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And I would like to echo comments welcoming Carol Vivier's family and advocates with the Manitoba Lung Association and other organizations who are here to advocate on behalf of those living with lung cancer. We rise to recognize November as Lung Cancer Awareness Month, a time dedicated to raising awareness, supporting those affected, and breaking the stigma surrounding this devastating disease. Lung cancer remains the leading cause of cancer-related deaths worldwide, claiming approximately 1.8 million lives each year, more than any other form of cancer. Despite its profound impact, awareness and understanding of lung cancer continue to lag behind other major cancers. Without increased education, early detection, and improved screening programs, global deaths are projected to rise to 3.2 million by 2045. And here in Manitoba, we join with the Manitoba Lung Association and communities across the country in their mission to build understanding, support, and hope. Each year, more than 32,000 Canadians are diagnosed with lung cancer, but behind each one of these is a family, a story, and a community impacted by this disease. Lung cancer does not discriminate. It affects smokers and non-smokers, men and women, young and old alike. Many cases occur in individuals with no smoking history due to genetic, environmental, and occupational factors. This reality highlights the importance of ongoing research, awareness, advocacy, and equitable access to screening and treatment for all. This year's theme is hope, helping others persevere through experience, reminding us of the strength and resilience found in those living with and beyond lung cancer. And I'd also like to encourage Manitobans to learn more about radon exposure. Long-term exposure to radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. It's really easy to test your home for radon. You can get a kit through the Manitoba Lung Association. It sits in your home for 3 months and then you mail it away and get the results. It's easy as can be. And then when you have those results, you can take action to remediate radon levels in your home and lower your risk for you and your family. During this Lung Cancer Awareness Month, I urge all Manitobans to make the choices that support a healthy lifestyle, to learn about risk factors and screening options, and to support individuals and families affected. Together, through awareness, compassion, and action, we can help save lives and move toward a future where fewer Manitobans face this devastating diagnosis. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Everyone could rise for a minute of silence, please. Thank you. We will now move on to member statements. The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to celebrate the Wolseley Residents Association, an active and dedicated part of our community for 45 years. Founded in 1980, the association began when neighbours came together with a shared vision of making Wolseley a vibrant and welcoming place for families. And that spirit of creative cooperation continues to guide their work today. Preserving Wolseley's beloved elm trees has been a priority from the very beginning. And today, the WRA Tree Committee is also focused on bolstering biodiversity. Their recent projects include enhancing green space at Wolseley School and planting an urban food forest in Halter Park near Omens Creek. The Wolseley Residents Association is also responsible for the Victory Garden in Vimy Ridge Memorial Park. Now in its fourth season, the garden features 22 raised allotment beds, community beds, a pollinator garden, and fruit trees. It has become a gathering place where neighbors grow food, share knowledge, and strengthen community ties. Beyond these initiatives, the WRA hosts town halls on transportation or local politics and workshops on topics such as composting or radon awareness. They also organize beloved neighborhood events from bike parades and winter carnivals to this year's post-Halloween Pumpkin Patch Parade. These projects reflect the values that have guided the Wolseley Residents Association for decades: protecting green space, fostering sustainability, and creating meaningful opportunities for connection. Their ongoing work is a powerful reminder of what neighbors can achieve when we work together. I'm pleased to welcome board members Ross Brownlee, Julie Penner, and Alexandra Osipova, who are in the gallery today. Please join me in celebrating the Wolseley Residents Association for 45 years of leadership, vision, and service to our community. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonnet.
Today, I would like to acknowledge that during National Disability and Employment Awareness Month, I had the pleasure of being invited by my constituent, Susie Natchuk, to participate alongside her in Take Your MLA to Work Day. It is a day in which we celebrate the contributions that Manitobans with multiple abilities make to the workforce, encourage more inclusive hiring of Manitobans, and recognize businesses who are utilizing diverse hiring practices. I had the opportunity to meet and visit with Susie at her workplace and see firsthand the power of community-based employment. That visit included a tour highlighting an introduction to her employer, Sheila Surakan, of Soy Harvest Candles, and her team in Beausejour, where Susie works. She gave me the opportunity to job shadow her in the duties she performs on a regular basis. Joining us for the day was Larissa Pittner, who is the employment counselor, and of course Robin Furnish, program director for supportive employment options right in Beausejour. The Manitoba Supportive Employment Network is a professional network of individuals and organizations invested in employment and full community inclusion for people who live with a disability. I am thankful to have had that opportunity yet once again to share this great experience with such a wonderful group. A few more things I'd like to share with the House about Susie is that it's not just at Soy Harvest Candles that she works or volunteers her time. She volunteers at the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 132 as a volunteer, but also carries the colors on our very special events at the Legion. She also volunteers at the Double B Agricultural Festival and Rodeo, the Beausejour Hotel, of course Soy Harvest Candles, Shades of the Past Car Show, which is always a hit, which sees over 700 cars participating each and every year. I want to thank Susie Natchuk, I want to thank Sheila and Robin for joining us here today, but also for how important you are to our communities. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate and take your MLA to Work Day once again this year.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Honourable Speaker, it is my pleasure to rise today in recognition of a remarkable musician and true community treasure, Mr. Boris Nosad. Boris's talent, passion, and dedication to fiddling have left an unmarkable mark on our region and on Manitoba's musical landscape. From a young age, he showed a natural gift for a violin that began as a childhood interest that grew into a lifelong commitment, one that carries him from local dance halls to community celebrations across the parkland. For nearly 7 decades, Boris brought joy, energy, and remarkable skill to every stage he touched. Many will recognize his iconic blue fiddle and the beautiful Ukrainian music that became his signature. Boris and his father Bill founded the Melody Kings, a band well known across Western Canada. Through his work with the Melody Kings and many other groups, he recorded multiple albums and performed at many weddings, socials, festivals, and community events, including more than 800 dance halls and venues. Boris was recognized by the Ukrainian Music Associations with numerous honors, including 2 honorable achievements and a Legacy Achievement Award and a Lifetime Achievement Award. He is also a lifetime member of the Canadian National Ukrainian Festival, and he was inducted into the Manitoba Fiddle Association's Wall of Fame in Carmen in April of 2025. Boris's musical legacy continues throughout his family. His daughter Pamela joined the Melody Kings in early 1990, and in the recent years, her son Dawson learned to fiddle from his Guido, adding another chapter to the proud multi-generational story. Beyond his music, Boris has also given generosity to the community safety, serving the chairperson of the Manitoba Crime Stoppers for 28 years. Thank you, Boris, for a remarkable gift of music, service, and a dedication to your community. Thank you all.
The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
I rise today to recognize an extraordinary Manitoban whose life work has strengthened the cultural fabric of Gimli. Tammy Axelson grew up in Gimli, deeply rooted in her Icelandic heritage. In 1985, she traveled to Iceland expecting only a 3-month visit to explore her ancestry, but it quickly turned into a 3-year immersion in Icelandic language, history, and culture. She returned to Gimli in 1988 with her husband and 2 children, where her passion for community service flourished. Tammy became the executive director with the new Iceland Heritage Museum, where she served for more than 2 decades. Her volunteerism is extensive. She contributed to the 1999 Millennium Celebration Committee, the Icelandic Festival of Manitoba, the Gimli Film Festival, the Gimli Ice Festival, the Association of Manitoba Museums, the Gimli Chamber of Commerce, and co-chaired Pride Gimli along with many other initiatives. Tammy was also selected for the Fjallkona, one of the highest honors in the Icelandic community. In addition to her volunteer work, Tammy has served as Mayor of Gimli and the Honorary Consul of Iceland. Her leadership has been recognized with Toastmasters Communication and Leadership Award and the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond and Platinum Jubilee medals. Honorable Speaker, I have had the privilege of working with Tammy over the past 6 years, as she also served as my constituency assistant. I wish her every happiness in her well-deserved retirement. Please join me in recognizing Tammy Axelson who joins us in the gallery here today.
Here, here.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today, I'm delighted to recognize an outstanding individual whose dedication and leadership have made a significant impact on our community, Ms. Nicole Latourelle. As Executive Director of the Deer Lodge Foundation for 6.5 years, she has tirelessly advanced its mission to support the health and well-being of veterans, seniors, and others receiving care at Deer Lodge Centre. Nicole has helped to motivate and organize community support to push many key initiatives across the finish line. Thanks, Nicole, and the Foundation's work, the Tower 7 Dementia Unit is a warmer, more welcoming place with innovative programming for residents. The courtyard has been transformed into a beautiful, accessible green space for all residents, and the Foundation's disbursement to Deer Lodge has set record after record under her leadership. Whether organizing events like their annual dance hall, building partnerships with the Winnipeg Blue Bomber alumni and Breezy Bend Golf and Country Club, or simply offering a helping hand, Nicole has consistently gone above and beyond in her service. Her work exemplifies what it means to be a community leader, one who serves with humility, compassion, and a strong sense of responsibility. On behalf of the community of St. James and of all Manitobans who've benefited from her dedication, I want to extend our sincere gratitude for her many years of service. Her energy, her warmth, and her steady leadership will be missed as she steps into a well-earned retirement. Honourable Speaker, I ask all members to join with me in recognizing Nicole Latourelle for her outstanding contributions to the Deer Lodge Centre Foundation and our entire community.
That's awesome. Well done.
Prior to oral questions, I have a statement to start with. I'd like to draw the attention of all honourable members to the Speaker's Gallery, where we have with us today the new Director of the Assembly's Members' Allowance Office, Omar Sanchez. Omar is joined in the gallery today by his wife, Elizabeth Macias, his daughter, Michelle Sanchez, his sister, Laura Sanchez, and Elma Sanchez. Members may already be familiar with Omar, as he's been serving as the Assembly's Finance Manager since July 2022. Originally from Mexico City, Omar comes to this important new position with an already impressive career as a capable leader with over 15 years of experience in a variety of finance roles. He earned a post-secondary degree in public accounting from EBC Business University in Mexico City and worked in Mexico for several years as an auditor at KPMG before moving to Canada to continue his career with KPMG in Winnipeg in 2008. Omar brings to his new position a strong background in both public and private sectors, with experience overseeing financial reporting, accounts payable, and controllership. We are pleased to have Omar join the Members' Allowance crew in this essential leadership position. Omar has an ideal combination of professionalism and personal skills that will serve him well as the Members' Allowance Director. Omar started this position November 24th, 2025, and I'd ask all members to help me welcome Omar to his new role. Further, we have seated in the public gallery staff from Indigenous Excellence, Jordan Bighorn, Simran Sihra, who are guests of the Honourable Minister of Families. We welcome you here today. And I would also like to draw the attention of all honourable members to the public gallery, where we have with us today Susie Nachuk, Sheila Sorokan, Robin Furnish, who are guests of the Honourable Member for Lac du Bonny, and we welcome you all here today as well. Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Genevieve Price died after spending over 30 hours on a stretcher in a hallway under this failing NDP government. The healthcare system under this NDP failed her family, and is failing Manitobans. The Premier seems content with a critical incident review, but let's be clear about what a critical incident review is. It is not made public, it is for internal purposes only, and there is no accountability or transparency for Manitobans. Genevieve and her daughter, who is a nurse, did everything right. And yet, sadly, her mother passed away due to negligence by this NDP government and Premier. Will the Premier commit today to a public inquiry so Manitobans can get answers with accountability and transparency about all of their failures?
The Honourable First Minister.
I want to send out all my best to the daughter of Genevieve Price. We know that she's experienced a tragic loss, but also she's a part of our healthcare system, which is our government's top priority. She does a wonderful thing. And we know that when issues like this take place, there needs to be a fulsome investigation, as well as a conversation around accountability. The critical incident review, which is something that was codified under the Tories in the way that it's worked now, is going to be investigated in this situation. That will be about lessons learned for healthcare staff. Our minister, though, has gone a step further than any PC health minister did during their time in office, and has said that there is also going to be an additional layer of investigation so that we can have accountability. I encourage the members opposite to participate in rebuilding the healthcare system alongside with us. After the years of closures and cuts that they oversaw, it would be about time.
First time has expired. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
There you have it, Manitoba. No accountability, no transparency from this Premier. I'm asking about a public inquiry, and he stands up and talks about a critical incident review. Like I said, that is for internal purposes, and it is not revealed to the public. The critical incident is done anytime a death happens under unknown, mysterious, or suspicious situations. 32 deaths last year have prompted a critical incident review, and yet Genevieve Price still died under this NDP government. From where I'm standing, the people of Manitoba believe nurses when it comes to healthcare, and the way that this government could begin to restore trust in the chaos and the system issues that they've caused could and would be a call to a public inquiry. So will the Premier today commit to a public inquiry so Manitobans can have answers about the failures of this NDP government?
The Honourable First Minister.
I send my condolences to the family of Genevieve Price, and certainly for her daughter, who works in the healthcare system. I also send my thanks for what you do each and every day to care for our seniors and others in our community. And for the members opposite, all of them, food for thought. What I would say is, on this side of the House, we love nurses. That's right. We absolutely love and respect nurses, which is why we've hired more than 1,200 since we came into office. Again, the members opposite cut more than 300 nurses inside the perimeter alone, which means that there's been a lot of repairs we've had to do. But the key thing that we're focused on is listening to the frontline expertise of nurses who are demanding even further staffing increases. We've launched a whole series of structural reforms in the healthcare system, and most importantly, we're reopening the emergency rooms that PC's closed. Construction begins at the Victoria ER this January.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
That non-answer just proves that this Premier is not a man of his word. The last question I stated was an exact quote from who? This premier, his exact quote was, could begin to store trust in the chaos and system would be to call an independent investigation or public inquiry. That was an exact quote from the premier of March 2022. Now he stands up in the House and says there's no need for a public inquiry. Will the premier, for once in his tenure of being a leader, show any sort of accountability and transparencies and being a man of his word and hold true to a public inquiry for Manitobans so they can have accountability about all of the failures of this NDP government?
The Honourable First Minister.
Honourable Speaker, if the question's about accountability, I accept your judgment as the people of Manitoba each and every day. And I would humbly put before you that we have reopened emergency rooms that were closed under the previous government, hired more than 1,200 additional nurses as part of 3,500 more frontline healthcare staff in the province of Manitoba. When it comes to my word, what I would say is this. I promised to cut the gas tax on January 1, 2024. We did. We promised to staff up the healthcare system. We have. We promised to reopen emergency rooms. We have. And even though we didn't ask for this, we were demanded whether we would search the landfill, and we did commit to searching the landfill, bringing Morgan and Mercedes home. I'm honored to share with the House today that at 8:45 a.m. this morning, I was at the Brady Road landfill, where we moved the first truckload of landfill material in the quest to bring Ashley Shingoose home. I would welcome encouraging words from any of the members on the other side.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a new question.
I asked about the death of Genevieve Price, and this premier, and I quote from Manitoba Nurses Union, arrogant and dismissive, end quote, stands up to talk about a gas tax. When someone is dead under his watch, that is arrogant and dismissive. If you're watching as a parent, grandparent, guardian, I'm sure you were terrified as much as I was last week when you heard the news of a repeat violent offender loose at Darwin Elementary School in St. Vital. Thankfully, the child was able to break free and ran to a teacher. The premier talks a big game on his thoughts on sexual predators, but his actions are empty. He won't call on the federal government to use the notwithstanding clause to enforce minimum sentences on child predators. And here in Manitoba, he won't do anything to hold repeat violent offenders in jail. Instead, under this failed justice minister, they are letting them out on bail. Will the premier commit today to holding repeat violent offenders in jail?
Member's time has expired. The Honourable First Minister.
You know, in the aftermath of a terrible incident such as the one that took place at Darwin School, there are many ways to respond. And I want to highlight for the House that our Education Minister has spoken with the family as well as with the school community alongside other members of our team. Speaking with people with expertise in mental health, the most important thing right now is to send a message of reassurance to the kids involved that they did nothing wrong, first of all, and second of all, that you are now safe. That's why earlier today, we took direct action to ensure that every single school in Manitoba, whether we're talking about Darwin, where this terrible thing took place, or we're talking about any of the many, many institutions across this great land, are taking additional steps immediately to ensure that kids are safe. We're talking about a sacred bond between you, the parent, and your child. You need to have trust in the school system that when you send your kids to school, they come home safely at the end of the day. Let's keep working together to make sure that that's true today and every day.
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
If the premier wants to send a message, here's a message. Hold repeat violent offenders in jail. Don't let them out on bail like we want to do on this side of the house. We will hold them in jail to make sure you and your family and your kids are safe. This repeat violent offender, Scott George, has been registered sex offender since he was convicted in 2022 for a crime against a 6-year-old. It is reported he showed no remorse for that crime. Earlier that year, he breached those conditions twice. In February, he was caught lurking in a park washroom. In March, he was caught at Dakota Collegiate as well. It appears the only time the public is safe is when this repeat violent offender is behind bars. So why will the Premier not hold repeat violent offenders in jail? Why is this Premier letting them out on bail when they should be in bail, Honourable Speaker? In jail. In jail.
The Honourable First Minister.
Nothing else matters unless our kids are safe. That's why our government has taken immediate action to elevate the level of safety in our public schools. It's part of the first layer of response to young people in Manitoba, which must be reassurance. You did nothing wrong in this instance, and now you are safe. And of course, we can't just say you are safe. We have to back that up with action, which of course is what the announcement that the Education Minister led earlier today was all about. Listen, when it comes to people like this person with whom there is clearly something wrong, I think everyone out there knows how I feel. The member opposite posted on his social media at the time he criticized me. He had to post that onto Instagram. I'll let him lurk in the mud. We'll continue working with you to make sure that kids are safe in Manitoba, as well as every single school in our province.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
The Premier wants to talk about action. He thinks $724 a school is action. On this side of the House, we say action is locking up repeat violent offenders so they're not out on the streets to cause you, your family, your community, and your children harm. This Premier thinks $724 a school is safety. To his right is the failing health minister. To his left is a failing justice minister who oversees the release of repeat violent offenders and sexual predators. Last but not least is the MLA for Riel, where Darwin School is located, who has been quiet on this issue. The Premier promised bail reform in the first 100 days. 790 days later, nothing. Repeat violent offenders are out on the streets. Will the Premier commit today to keeping repeat violent offenders in jail and not out on bail?
The Honourable First Minister.
Our government delivered on provincial actions when it came to bail reform immediately upon taking office. And we did something that the PCs were never able to do. We got the federal government to change the Criminal Code of Canada to tighten bail conditions.
Great work.
Listen to that press conference in which the feds announced it. They credited our government for these changes. Now, of course, there's more work to do. But I can assure the member opposite, when we're talking about these accountability conversations, and this person in a situation like this, who should not have been released, I can assure the member opposite that Order. It was the flawed structures established by the PCs which led to that person's release. We will fix it the same way that we do everything, by working with you, by working with community, by working with law enforcement, by working with the whole province to come together and focus on one common thing: unity in the purpose of making Manitoba safer. The era of division is over. Let's keep building a bright future
together. Time has expired. The Honourable Member for Lac du Bonny.
Honourable Speaker, parents and guardians across this great province of Manitoba are asking questions today about the safety of their children when they're at school, in the wake of the terrifying attack at Darwin School. How does this happen, Honourable Speaker? The Premier stands in his place, doesn't apologize to Manitobans. We know the students didn't do anything wrong. It's this Education Minister's fault that this continues to happen because of her failed Justice Minister that sits next to her for releasing a violent criminal. Will she stand in her place today and apologize to Manitoba's parents, guardians, and students?
The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. What happened last week at Darwin School is horrific, both as the Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning, but most importantly as a parent and as a member of this community. I am horrified that this happened. I want to speak directly to Manitoba students, however, and share with them the same message that was just delivered by our Premier. And that is a message of reassurance that Manitoba schools are safe places for you to be. Manitoba parents should know that they are making the right choice when they choose to send their children to school every day, which are safe places. I want to speak to the student and the family that was involved and thank them for their bravery and their courage.
First time has expired. The honourable member for Lac du Bonnet on a supplementary question.
I just want to let all Manitobans know that today, standing in this great chamber of ours, that the NDP caucus is clapping for this failed education minister, who had the opportunity today to stand in her place and apologize for failing on the students on Darwin School. So again, Honourable Speaker, I ask the education minister, will she stand in her place today, as she did in front of the cameras a few weeks ago, and basically when asked if she should be locking down some of the schools for the controlled access points, she shrugged her shoulders and said that she didn't know. Will she stand today and apologize to all those parents, guardians, and students that she is affecting on a day-to-day basis?
Time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And parents, students, teachers, school administrators out there know that Manitoba schools are a safe place. Our government is committed to making sure that we are stepping up in partnership with the Manitoba School Boards Association, in lockstep with them, in partnership with them, in collaboration with school divisions across this great province. We are going to ensure that every school division has the resources that they need to address their safety and security plans. Honourable Speaker, it is the truth that every school in Manitoba today has a safety and security plan. What last week's terrible incident reminds us is that this is an opportunity for us to come together, to work in collaboration, to review all those plans and policies, and to make sure that we are doing every
time has expired. The honourable member for Lac du Bonnet on a final supplementary question.
So again, Honourable Speaker, no apology coming from this education minister. She stands and repeats the same boring talking points of her premier, the fellow who is in charge of actually deciphering what these cabinet ministers are doing. In their news release today, they said, and I quote, "That's why we are acting quickly and working closely with school divisions." What is she talking about, Honourable Speaker? Working quickly? She had this opportunity months ago, and now they come out with a pittance of just over $650 per school. That's not even going to buy those schools the 2 doorbell cameras that this failed justice minister is promoting to Manitobans. Stand up and apologize today to all those parents and guardians.
Time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And you know how we do hard things in Manitoba? Our Premier has said this many times, and it's true. We do hard things together. That's why today, in partnership with the Manitoba School Boards Association, we announced over $500,000 of an investment that we are going to use so that school divisions can do the security assessments they need, so that we can bring the sector together and make sure that we're working hard to protect the safety and security of every student in Manitoba. And the member opposite might be right that this work is lagging. Do you know why that is, Honourable Speaker? That is because here in Manitoba, thanks to a previous NDP government, we had something called Safe Schools Manitoba. This work that was already being done by the Manitoba School Boards Association in partnership with the province of Manitoba.
Expired. Order. The honourable member for Roblin.
He and this health minister are failing on the #1 issue they campaigned on.
Order.
And Manitobans are paying the price. Genevieve Price died 9 days ago after waiting more than 30 hours in the Grace Hospital ER. Earlier this year, Chad Giffen died in the waiting room of HSC. ER wait times are the highest they've ever been, and Manitobans are scared. It's been 2 years of empty promises and grandstanding from this minister and no action. Why has this minister refused to be accountable for their failures and refused to conduct an independent public inquiry?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Honourable Speaker, on this side of the House, we are all about accountability. And that is why I continue to show up, and we continue to show up to listen to the front lines, meet with unions, meet with experts, and do the work that wasn't done for 7.5 years. Honourable Speaker, nobody in Manitoba, I think, discounts the reality of what happens when you close major emergency rooms, fire hundreds of nurses, and you're hell-bent on cutting as much of healthcare as you possibly can in the public system. That takes time to fix. But we are committed to continuing to do that work because that is the approach and the commitment that Manitobans deserve. So we're going to keep doing the work with the front lines, with the experts in this province who didn't have the ear of government for 7.5 years under the PCs.
The Honourable Member for Roblin on a supplementary question.
When people hear about what happened to Genevieve Price, they are scared. She did everything right. She had an expert advocating for her, and she was still left on a stretcher for 30 hours under this NDP government. And now she won't be here to celebrate Christmas with her family. ER wait times are longer than they've ever been. And for the first time in history, 2 major hospitals have been grey-listed by Manitoba nurses. And what do Manitobans get from this minister? Theatre, grandstanding, dancing on TikTok. They have no plan to reduce ER wait times. How many more tragedies are Manitobans going to suffer before this minister finally takes real action?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Our deepest condolences go out to the Price family. I was able to express that directly to her daughter when we spoke, and we're going to work very hard to make sure that Manitobans don't face an experience like that again. And you know, what I heard loud and clear in that conversation was that we didn't get to where we are in healthcare overnight. Unfortunately, you know, 7.5 years of cuts, closures, and chaos does real damage. That takes a real commitment to address. Now, we're seeing as a government the benefits of listening to the front lines. Thousands of net new healthcare workers, hundreds of beds added. But we know there's much more work to do, and that is the commitment that Manitobans deserve and that healthcare workers deserve. We know there's much more work to be done, and the conditions that we continue to see are unacceptable, and we'll continue to do that work.
Time has expired. The Honourable Member for Roblin on a final supplementary question.
Healthcare is only getting worse under the NDP and under this health minister. ER wait times are longer than ever before. Surgical and diagnostic wait times are longer. Nurses have had to grey-list 2 major hospitals just to get this minister's attention. This minister thinks they've hired 13 times as many paramedics as they actually have.
Order.
But worst of all, Manitobans don't feel safe going to the ER. They hear what happened to Genevieve Price, and they are terrified that their loved one will be next.
Order.
These failures can't be tolerated. It's time. This health minister needs to be replaced. Will they do the right thing for Manitobans today and resign?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Honourable Speaker, Manitobans can trust that our government is going to continue to invest in making healthcare better. Major emergency rooms closed, hundreds of healthcare workers fired, serious damage done to the healthcare system under the former PCs. Under us, thousands of net new healthcare workers, hundreds of beds added, and we're listening to the front lines. Honourable Speaker, I won't do what failed after failed after failed after failed PC health minister did. I won't run from these challenges. I'm going to continue to show up, listen to the front lines, and work with them to make healthcare better. The member opposite should get up, stand in her place, and apologize for advising 3 failed PC health ministers to do the damage they've done to healthcare in this province.
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
Honourable Speaker, this family's minister has to address systemic issues that have thrived under her watch. And she admits that, and I'm going to quote, there has been abominable abuse in the case of a 6-year-old girl who suffered horrific injuries in foster care. What this minister has been silent on is how under her watch this has occurred. Ministerial responsibility means the buck stops with her. She is ultimately responsible. How did the system fail this child completely?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
Honourable Speaker, as the member for Agassiz knows, I take the safety and protection of children, particularly as the Minister of Families, incredibly seriously. And our whole government takes the safety of children incredibly seriously. And while folks know that I can't share any of the details, what I can say is this, is that it should be acutely obvious to folks that you shouldn't abuse children. And if you abuse children, then I hope that the fullest extent of the law is used against you and you are held accountable. That is the bottom line.
Your time has expired. The Honourable Member for Agassiz on a supplementary question.
The foster mother is charged with aggravated assault, failing to provide the necessities of life. The foster father was also charged. The list of injuries and wounds of this 6-year-old is heartbreaking. A scheduled respite worker was in the home but did not see the child, who police believe was confined to a bed with her injuries. There were clearly systemic failures. Why is the minister refusing to call a review into this critical incident?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
My department is doing a full investigation of this particular case right now, which also includes investigating case planning, placement decisions, and licensing of placements. We're using Section 4 powers to do that investigation. As folks know, the police are also investigating, and also members opposite should know that at some point Macy will also be doing an investigation, and their investigation, that report that they have, will be made public. Under my watch, we are doing an investigation thoroughly and ensuring that this never occurs again.
The Honourable Member for Agassiz on a final supplementary question.
The Advocate for Children and Youth supports the call for further review. Manitobans demand further review. They also demand the minister release the steps that she'll be taking to ensure this never happens here again. The system failed this child, and the child advocate said, children are falling through the cracks when there is lack of oversight. The minister is responsible. Will she commit to this public accountability today?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
Thank you much, Honourable Speaker. My department is fully investigating this abominable case of abuse, which includes case planning, placement decisions, and also licensing of placements. It is a sacred responsibility to take care of children, and that's why I'm also working alongside authorities and agencies to ensure that the system is operating in the way that it's supposed to operate. I've also just last week issued mandate letters to authorities to ensure that my priorities as minister are getting executed at the authority level, and our department is working with authorities to make sure that those priorities are streamlined, which includes the safety and protection of all children in care.
Time has expired. The Honourable Member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Recently, I've highlighted how Manitoba has the slowest growing economy in our country, but yet as our neighbours are flourishing. Last week, the Premier of Saskatchewan got up in his chamber and highlighted the billions of dollars of new investment happening in Saskatchewan. But it didn't come without recognizing our province and this Premier for the amount of investment fleeing our province. Here's his quote. No wonder investment is fleeing. Time and time again in this nation, we see the NDP being part of the problem. Wow. So I ask, when will this problem premier take responsibility and hold his minister responsible for the billions of investment fleeing our province?
The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Well, the member opposite is completely way off base. We're investing not only in growing our economy through a robust manufacturing sector, also leaning into our strengths like our aerospace sector, life sciences sector, and critical mineral sector. A mining project that was completely stalled under the former failed government got the go-ahead under us, and that's a $1 billion gold mine in northern Manitoba. On top of that, we're investing in manufacturing, bringing jobs from the United States to Manitoba here and creating world-leading companies like Dua, which received province of Manitoba support to create 94 new jobs right here in Manitoba that came from the states located here. That's growing our economy, one that's strong, one that's resilient for all
time has expired. The Honourable Member for Laval-Andre on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, that's not just rhetoric. Our economy is failing in almost every sector. I'm seeing it in southeast Manitoba. I've highlighted some of these issues like NPI, an egg production company, La Merde, a grain dryer production company. Dozens of real-world examples where companies who want to set up shop here and build their operations are forced out by the inaction of this NDP government. Now they've run out of time and they're moving their investment to other provinces. And agriculture is just one of those sectors. How many more sectors of our economy need to flee before this failed minister will wake up?
The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Well, under the former failed PC government, what was fleeing were Manitobans out of the province with the highest out-migration rates. Instead, we've reversed that trend. We actually have more Manitobans coming here to work, to enjoy our affordable quality of life and our robust job sector. Now, the reality is that Manitobans should know is that we're investing in our manufacturing space. Companies like Dua receive support from us, and they're growing jobs out of the United States right here to Manitoba. Companies like NFI Group are building an all-Canadian build, taking jobs from the United States and growing manufacturing sectors here. That's how we do our economy here in Manitoba, that works to build on all of our strengths, growing good jobs for Manitobans of all walks of life. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Laval-Andre on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, that is simply not true. I have come across dozens and dozens of businesses day after day that are fleeing our province. Investors across sectors repeatedly say the same things. Letters go unanswered, emails go unreturned, and departments fail to respond. These are companies that are urging me to bring up their companies as examples, whether it be trucking, forestry, manufacturing, egg processing, companies all across our province. This is why our economy is growing at only 1.1%. Why is the Minister for Economic Development failing to ensure that departments respond to business concerns in a timely way so that investors...
Time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Well, Honourable Speaker, we're happy to respond to businesses of all sectors and all industries. If members opposite is just concerned about emails, we'll win that contest as well. The same way we're winning with putting good jobs on the opportunity for all Manitobans. Whether that's agriculture, manufacturing, life sciences, aerospace, we're investing in all those sectors which are our strengths here in Manitoba. Whether that's Magellan, Standard Aero, whether that's NFI Group, whether that is Duha, these are all businesses that are investing in Manitoba, choosing Manitoba, staying in Manitoba and growing in Manitoba. That's an economy that works for everyone, unlike the PC former government, which failed to grow the economy and had Manitobans fleeing out across the country.
Such a time has expired. The honourable member for Tyndall Park.
Honourable Speaker, according to the throne speech, only 143 affordable units and 100 shelter beds will be created this year. This government initially committed to ending homelessness in 8 years. However, they have since changed the wording of their commitment, and now it does not include all homeless Manitobans, and it extends the goal past their original mandate. Can the government explain why they extended their deadline and had to lower their goal to no longer completely end homelessness?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker, and miigwech to the member for Tyndall Park for that question. I first and foremost want to just acknowledge a member of the MMIWG2S community and the stepmother of the Minister for Housing, Addictions and Homelessness, who just recently passed, just the past weekend, from a battle of cancer. Brenda Osborne was a staunch advocate for her daughter, the minister's sister. And on behalf of our government and also myself as a longstanding MMIWG2S advocate, I want to send our profound love and strength to the family.
First time has expired. The honourable member for Tyndall Park on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, Manitoba has some of the coldest winter conditions. With new restrictions on homeless encampments, organizations and individuals have been reaching out with concerns. According to a CBC article on Friday, police are bringing former encampment residents and people are coming on their own to St. Boniface street links, who are doing their best with no funding from this government. Honourable Speaker, End Homelessness Winnipeg shared that there are an estimated 2,500 individuals currently homeless. Will this government support St. Boniface street links through this colder weather for those who remain unsheltered?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
I think all of us on this side of the chamber remember that when the failed PCs were in government, they turned a blind eye to our relatives that were sleeping in bus shelters in -40 weather. That seemed to be perfectly acceptable to members opposite who are now yelling and screaming. Our minister has done incredible work since she's been appointed Minister of Housing, Addictions and Homelessness. Under her leadership and our government's our administration, we've created 143 social and affordable housing units, added over 100 shelter beds to give Manitobans a warm place to sleep. We've restored 2020.
Time has expired. The honourable member for Tyndall Park on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, in the same article I referenced earlier, the Main Street Project is reminding us that there is no ability or time to support everyone who needs shelter this winter season. The Right to Housing Coalition 2024 Action Plan has shared that this government has only reached 4% of the target for affordable housing. Every winter, we have thousands of people who are experiencing homelessness and they're freezing outside. What is the government doing to immediately prevent any deaths from exposure to the cold this winter?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
Once again, I want to remind folks in the chamber and those watching that under the failed PC government, those numbers of our relatives unsheltered grew exponentially. You could physically see it on the street that those numbers increase day after day, year after year. And why did they increase? Because the PCs didn't care whether folks stayed outside in -40 or if they had any shelter beds or any shelter space. And on top of that, they sold off affordable housing. Our government, on the other hand, we've housed over 100 Manitobans who are living in encampments, and we've prevented 1,400 Manitobans from becoming unsheltered and homeless.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Thompson.
Honourable Speaker, our Premier and the Prime Minister are investing in the Port of Churchill. Our government is creating a real opportunity to grow the northern economy while protecting the natural and cultural heritage that makes this region so important. Can the Minister for Environment and Climate Change update the House on how our government is moving quickly to protect the waters and lands of Hudson's Bay?
The Honourable Minister for Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you to the MLA for Thompson. Honourable Speaker, the belugas, migratory birds, and polar bears of Churchill are absolutely essential to the culture of the North and to the tourism that supports the community. That's why we're working with Ottawa to explore a Hudson Bay Marine Conservation Area. This feasibility study is a practical look to how to protect wildlife while supporting local jobs and future growth.
Order.
As investment in the Hudson Bay increases, we'll work with local operators to ensure the development is safe, sustainable, and creates real opportunity in Churchill. We're going to build up the province while protecting the wildlife and landscapes that define us as Manitobans.
The time for oral questions has expired. Petitions. The Honourable Member for St. Boniface.
Honourable Speaker, I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly. To the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background for this petition is as follows. The Winnipeg Foundation was incorporated by an act to incorporate the Winnipeg Foundation, SM 1921, circa 165, and was continued by an act respecting the Winnipeg Foundation, SM 1943, C52, the Winnipeg Foundation Act, SM 1980, C98, the Winnipeg Foundation Act, RSM 1990, C222, and the Winnipeg Foundation Act, SM 2004, C45. The Board of the Winnipeg Foundation would like to amend the Winnipeg Foundation Act to A, remove the requirement that the Mayor of the City of Winnipeg be a director of the Winnipeg Foundation, B, allow the Winnipeg Foundation to depart from the directions of a donor or a trust or conditions attaching to property if the donor is unable to provide directions or if the trust no longer fulfills the purposes or objectives when it was formed, and C, remove a requirement that copies of the audited financial statements be provided to the public on request and that information respecting the financial statements be published in a newspaper. Instead, information respecting the audit of the financial statements of the Winnipeg Foundation would be published on its website. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba to make the above amendment to the Winnipeg Foundation Act, the Winnipeg Foundation. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, could you please canvass the House for leave to allow an ASL interpreter to be on the floor of the chamber beside the Minister of Families on December 3rd, 2025 at the beginning of routine proceedings and until the conclusion of member statements?
Is there leave to allow an ASL interpreter to be on the floor of the chamber beside the Minister of Families on December 3rd, 2025 from the beginning of routine proceedings until the conclusion of member statements? Is there leave? Leave has been denied. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
House Leader.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Could you please canvass the House for leave to allow an ASL interpreter on the floor of the chamber beside the Minister of Families on December 3rd, 2025 from the beginning of routine proceedings until the conclusion of member statements, as well as to allow an ASL interpreter to be on the floor of the chamber beside the member for Brandon West for each occurrence that Bill 225, the Definite Awareness Week and Day of Sign Languages Act, is called for debates and committees.
Order. Is there leave to allow an ASL interpreter to be on the floor of the chamber beside the Minister of Families on December 3rd, 2025 from the beginning of routine proceedings until the conclusion of the member statements, as well as to allow an ASL interpreter to be on the floor of the chamber beside the member for Brandon West for each occurrence that Bill 225, the Deaf Awareness Week and Day of Sign Languages Act, Commemoration of Days, Weeks, and Months Act amended, is called for debate and committees. Is there leave? Agreed. Leave has been denied. The order. The order. 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 The Honourable Member for Tuxedo.
Honourable Speaker, I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly. To the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background to this petition is as follows. 1. The Westminster United Church Foundation, the Foundation, was incorporated by an act to incorporate Westminster United Church Foundation, SM 1968, C-102, and the corporation was continued by the Westminster United Church Foundation Incorporation Act, RSM 1990, C-212. 2. The current act requires that in the event of the liquidation or winding up of the foundation, the assets of the foundation be transferred to the Winnipeg Presbytery of the United Church of Canada. 3. The Winnipeg Presbytery of the United Church of Canada was dissolved on December 31st, 2018. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba to amend the Westminster United Church Foundation Incorporation Act as follows. A. To change the composition of the Board of Trustees of the Foundation so that if the position of immediate past chair of the General Board of Westminster United Church is vacant, the Vice Chair is one of the ex officio members of the Board of Trustees. B, if the Foundation is dissolved, to require all of the Foundation's remaining assets after payment of debts and liabilities to be distributed to registered charities as determined by the Board of Trustees. Signed, Ted Barnett, Chair, Margaret Cuddy, Member, and one more member whose signature I cannot read. Thank you.
Further petitions? Seeing none. Grievances? Grievances, the Honourable. The Honourable Member for Roblin.
On a matter of urgent public importance, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Roblin on a matter of urgent public importance.
I move, seconded by the member for Fort White, that in accordance with Sub-Rule 39, Bracket 1, the regular business of the House be set aside to discuss a matter of urgent public importance, specifically the systemic failures of the healthcare system under this provincial government.
Yeah.
So it has been moved by the Honourable Member for Roblin, seconded by the member for Fort White, that in accordance with Sub-Rule 39, Bracket 1, the regular business of the House be set aside to discuss a matter of urgent public importance, specifically the systematic failures of healthcare system under the provincial government. So, before recognizing the Honourable Member for Roblin, I should remind all members that under Rule 39, Bracket 2, the mover of a motion on a matter of urgent public importance and one member from the other recognized parties in the House are allowed no more than 10 minutes to explain the urgency of debating the matter immediately. As stated in Beauchene Citation 390, urgency in this context means the urgency of immediate debate, not of the subject matter of the motion. In his remarks, members should focus exclusively on whether or not there's urgency of debate and whether or not the ordinary opportunities for debate will enable the House to consider the matter early enough to ensure that the public interest will not suffer. The Honourable Member for Roblin.
I rise today to insist that this legislature set aside the regular business of the House to debate a matter of truly urgent public importance, that of the current NDP government's failures in healthcare and the disastrous impact it is having on Manitobans. The reason this matter is so urgent is because people are dying, waiting for care in this province, and that is something that should never happen. This is a very serious issue. Genevieve Price died 9 days ago after spending 30 hours in the Grace Hospital ER. She did everything right, and her daughter, a nurse, was there advocating for her every step of the way, doing everything she could. And there are a lot of questions about what was going on in the healthcare system when Genevieve Price tried to get help. Questions like, how many staff vacancies were there? How many nurses were working overtime? What was the bed occupancy rate in the hospital that meant that Genevieve was stuck on a stretcher in a hallway for 30 hours? But that's not all, Honourable Speaker. The failures of this NDP government in healthcare continue to compound and demand urgent attention by this Assembly.
Good thing the minister's here.
Chad Giffen died in the Health Sciences Centre ER in February, waiting to be seen by a doctor. Debbie Fuster died, waiting for life-saving cardiac surgery that never came. The NDP learned nothing and took no action in response to either of these tragedies. They weathered a few days of negative media attention, but failed to take action to prevent it from happening again. And yet here we are again. The NDP cannot let another tragedy go by without taking substantive action, and that's why we need to debate this issue in this chamber today. The failures of this NDP government have reached a crisis point where Manitobans have lost confidence in this minister. Current ER wait times as of 12:55 p.m. today at St. B, 12.5 hours. HSC, 7.5 hours. The Grace Hospital, 13.25 hours.
Longer than the NDP's work.
Monthly median and 90th percentile wait times are the highest they've ever been, certainly higher than they were 2 years ago. And still the NDP does nothing. Not only are they failing to make any improvements in healthcare, they're actively making things worse, and their mistakes continue to compound. And if we don't debate these issues in the legislature today, their failures will only continue to grow unchecked. Last week, the Premier had to clean up his minister's mess following their terrible decision to deny Jeremy Bray his medication. 2 weeks ago, the minister thought they'd hired 13 times as many paramedics as they actually had and was forced to issue a retraction. They promised 200 of those. They've hired 18, including 1 new paramedic this entire calendar year, which speaks to the minister's and the NDP's complete lack of understanding when it comes to health human resources. And more troubling, a tendency to make wild promises they cannot keep. Manitobans deserve better, Honourable Speaker. We saw more of that with the throne speech, and a minister that continued to make wild promises they have no ability or intention to keep. Even frontline workers spoke out to cast doubt on this minister's ability to actually do what they've said they will do. The Premier went so far as to declare he's hired enough nurses, hanging the mission accomplished banner. It was an astounding comment for the Premier to make, and again highlights the urgency of discussing this issue in the chamber today. Earlier this year, the minister was forced to go out and apologize for ignoring frontline workers and causing chaos in home care, a mess of their own making that they still haven't fixed, and that has a direct impact on our ERs and the issue at hand here today, Honourable Speaker. Because when patients can't get discharged back to their homes with the support of home care, they have no choice but to remain in the hospital. That backs up the ER, which in turn backs up the waiting room and leads to tragedies like we saw 9 days ago when Genevieve Price died after waiting 30 hours on a stretcher for care. This also marks the first time in Manitoba's history that 2 major hospitals have been grey-listed by the Manitoba Nurses Union. This is not a step they take lightly, Honourable Speaker. MNU nurses voted 94% in favor of grey-listing Health Sciences Centre 3 months ago, and still there has been no action from this government to do what nurses are asking that would result in the gray listing being lifted.
We're hoping it becomes the norm.
MNU calls it a reflection of their collective frustration over unsafe working conditions. Unsafe working conditions that make it hard to hire and to retain staff, which makes it very difficult for those staff to provide timely care to patients. A gray listing vote means the union is advising nurses not to take jobs at HSC and now at Thompson General Hospital. This follows a string of recent incidents around HSC, including the sexual assault of 5 people, 3 of whom were staff, on the HSC campus. It also follows an incident in Thompson Hospital where shots were fired in the chapel, a stabbing in the ER. These are serious, ongoing and worsening safety issues in our healthcare facilities that are directly contributing to the staffing crisis in our healthcare system, which is in turn directly contributing to the deaths of people trying to get care, Honourable Speaker. Manitobans are paying the price of this government's inaction. They love news conferences, headlines, slogans, and sound bites, but have fallen dismally short of Manitobans' expectations. And our job as opposition is to hold the NDP government to account. Manitobans expect this of us. So we ask questions in question period about this very serious, very important issue. We make suggestions like call an independent public inquiry so that what happened to Genevieve Price is made clear to everybody in Manitoba. An independent inquiry that can call witnesses, that will make recommendations that will be made fully public. And this minister refuses. What do Manitobans get from the NDP Minister of Health and the Premier? No answers. They get grandstanding and theatre. Meanwhile, Manitobans are scared to go to the ER because they saw what happened to Genevieve Price. They saw what happened to Chad Giffen. Genevieve did everything right. She had a family member who was a nurse advocating for her. I heard little else from Manitobans this weekend when I was in my constituency and at the hockey rink and at the soccer pitch. Manitobans are scared that their loved one will be next. They have so many unanswered questions about what happened to her, but also what's happening generally in our healthcare system under this NDP government, and that's why we need to debate this issue today. Manitobans deserve to know exactly what's going on under the NDP's healthcare system. They deserve answers. They're not getting them. And we want to hear from the NDP today about how they're going to address this growing crisis in Manitoba's hospitals. Manitobans deserve accountability, and they expect us in this legislature to deliver it. We can do that by debating this matter of truly urgent public importance today. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Honourable Speaker, the member for Roblin has no credibility on healthcare. And the leader of the opposition can heckle me all he wants, and he will probably heckle me throughout all of my comments, and I'm okay with that. Because, Honourable Speaker, the leader of the opposition, not too long ago, was around the cabinet table when the PCs were actively cutting and decimating healthcare. Honourable Speaker, our government has worked very hard to fix the damage done by the previous government. I'm going to table some documents here. An article from October of 2024. Manitoba adds record number of doctors. That's the headline. Subline here is net gain of 133 still leaves province second worst per capita. Honourable Speaker, our government has successfully recruited and retained record numbers of healthcare professionals, and yet the challenges persist. And Manitobans are rightly asking the question, why? And the answer to that question rests on that side of the House. Hiring record numbers of doctors does not fix the reality of 7.5 years of record bad decision-making in healthcare. The previous government fired hundreds of healthcare workers, closed some of our largest and most significant emergency rooms, drove people out of our province, cut hundreds of beds from healthcare. And Honourable Speaker, the only thing members opposite, including the member for Roblin, have to say is, NDP, my goodness, could you please clean up the damage we did faster? And the honest thing here, Honourable Speaker, is on this side of the House, we do want to do this work faster. We want to see these improvements more quickly. We're working as hard as we can and tirelessly with the front lines to fix what was near catastrophic damage done to the healthcare system by the members opposite. The member for Roblin still has not acknowledged in this House that she was advising the former Health Minister, Heather Stephenson, to cut healthcare. And yet she stands up in this House acting as though she's a champion for healthcare. She isn't. I was a frontline healthcare worker when the PCs started cutting healthcare. I felt the effects of their callous and cruel decision-making every day as a frontline nurse. I saw it as my coworkers started to disappear because their jobs were being cut. I saw it when the resources we needed for our patients started to evaporate because the system was being cut. And now members opposite want to stand up and act like they care about healthcare. Where was that care for healthcare for 7.5 years? Members on that side of the House can't even look their colleagues in the face, people who sit with them, who cut services for pregnant women in this province, cut services for women full stop across this province, treated healthcare like it was a public service announcement on how to harm people and cut services on the backs of healthcare workers. It was deplorable, Honourable Speaker. So no, forgive me if I will not take any lessons from members on that side of the House. And the member for Roblin has some audacity, standing up, actually sitting down right now and heckling me, calling me arrogant. What was the level of arrogance that she had when she was saying, you know what, Heather? I think this plan you laid out to cut healthcare, that's a good plan. What level of arrogance must she have had when she was saying to Heather Stephenson, you know what, Heather? You're right. Firing hundreds of nurses, that makes sense. What level of arrogance must the member of Roblin and members on that side of the House have had when they, for example, cut birthing services for women and families in the North? And I'll table that document as well, Honourable Speaker. When they ask the question, where did we get to where we are in healthcare today? The answer is simple. The Manitoba PCs, who continue to show an absolute lack of appreciation for the harm they cause to healthcare. And yet, Honourable Speaker, on this side of the House, we do something they couldn't do for 7.5 years, and that is actually commit to healthcare. When I was the opposition critic for healthcare, I was a critic when there were 3 different health ministers. One failed, another one was brought in. One failed, another one was brought in. One failed, another one was brought in. I was the critic when healthcare under the PCs meant that women in this province couldn't talk about healthcare with the health minister. That is the level of disrespect the previous PC administration brought to healthcare in this province. The member for Roblin was advising Heather Stephenson when Heather Stephenson, as the health minister, wouldn't talk about women's health. 3 different health ministers wouldn't talk about women's health care. They attacked it, they cut it, they dismantled it, just like they did emergency rooms, just like they did bed capacity, just like they did the services that Manitobans in every corner of this province count on. And so, Honourable Speaker, we are going to continue to do the work of, yes, fixing the monumental generational damage that was done by the PCs. And no, we won't back down from that challenge. Facing that challenge head on has meant that we have hired over 3,500 net new healthcare workers. Right. It has meant that we have added over 430 fully staffed new beds to the healthcare system. It has meant that we are adding back the emergency rooms that they closed when they were in power and had power and abused that power. But here's the reality. There is so much more work that needs to be done. And the truth is that the worst thing that could possibly happen to healthcare in Manitoba is, God forbid, another PC administration that would come in and do what they did before, and that is destroy it, cut it, dismantle it, treat healthcare workers with disrespect and contempt. On this side of the House, Honourable Speaker, we have folks coming to Manitoba from outside of our province. We have folks coming from the United States. I'm going to table the documents of what happened under the PCs. Why do we have challenges in healthcare? Maybe that's because they were driving doctors out of the province. Maybe that's because they spent millions of dollars for a firm, a private firm, to hire what they said would be 150 doctors. Honourable Speaker, they hired 2, and that was under us. Don't worry, we've added 283 net new doctors to that list under our initiatives in government, Honourable Speaker. The member for Roblin talks about safety and security. The PCs didn't listen to healthcare workers. They didn't give not one lick about safety and security when they were in government. They passed a bill, we passed a bill in this House, so that institutional safety officers would be on the front lines of our healthcare system. What did the member for Roblin do while she was advising Heather Stephenson? She might have been the one to tell Heather Stephenson, don't bother hiring institutional safety officers. Don't listen to those nurses. Don't listen to those doctors. Don't bother doing anything about that. Again, Honourable Speaker, we recognize safety and security left unaddressed for 7.5 years. There's a lot of work to do. But what have we been able to do? We've been able to add 130 institutional safety officers to the front lines across the province, with more on the way. We have 2 police officers stationed 24/7 at HSC right now, and I'll table the documents for the member opposite. We are taking real action where they washed their hands of healthcare for 7.5 years and worked as hard as they could to privatize. Honourable Speaker, we take very seriously that healthcare is Manitobans' #1 priority, and we take very, very seriously the role and responsibility of protecting healthcare. Members on that side of the House have a terrible record on healthcare. They have zero credibility on healthcare. Nobody in Manitoba trusts them with healthcare. On this side of the House, Honourable Speaker, healthcare will continue to be our #1 priority. We've got healthcare workers who sit in our caucus, myself included. And we're going to continue to invest in not only fixing the monumental damage done by members opposite and members on that side of the House who have still not said 2 words that Manitobans need to hear, and that is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my role in trying to decimate healthcare in Manitoba. We're going to continue doing that work for Manitobans, and no, we won't take any lessons from a member who advised Heather Stephenson to cut healthcare, or any member on that side of the House who cut it, closed, and attacked healthcare for 7.5 shameful years. Their record is disgusting. Their actions continue to be. We'll take no lessons from the PC caucus.
Order, please. I thank the honourable members for their advice to the chair on the motion proposed by the honourable member for Roblin for a matter of urgent public importance. The 90-minute notice required prior to the start of routine proceedings by Sub-Rule 39(1) was provided, and I thank the member for that. Under our rules and practices, the subject matter referenced in the member's motion must be so pressing that the public interest will suffer if it is not given immediate attention. Order. Crucially, there must also be no other reasonable opportunities to raise the matter. I've listened very carefully to the arguments put forward. Although the challenges facing the Manitoba healthcare system are indeed very serious and worthy of consideration and discussion, my duty in this moment is to determine if there's other opportunities for debate on such matters. With that in mind, I must note that members have the opportunity to make statements on the topic during member statements or when rising on a grievance. Members can also ask questions on this topic during oral questions. Further, those opportunities and others will continue to be available every sitting day in this House. Accordingly, I do not believe the motion meets the criteria as a member of urgent public importance, as there are other opportunities to debate the matter. With the greatest of respect, I must rule that the motion is out of order as a matter of urgent public importance. Thank you. Grievances. The Honourable Government House Leader on House business.
Am I able to do the bills now? Oh, you're going to call the bills? Yeah. Oh, no. Okay.
Grievances. Seeing no grievances, orders of the day, government business, the Honourable Government House Leader.
Honourable Speaker, can you please call second reading of Bill 2, the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images Amendment Act, followed by the start of second reading of Bill 3, the Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation Amendment Act.
It has been announced that we will now resume debate on Bill 2, the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images Amendment Act, followed by the beginning of debate on Bill 3, the Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation Amendment Act. So now at this time we will resume debate on Bill 2, the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images Act, and it stands in the name of the Honourable Member for Roblin, who has 26 minutes remaining. The Honourable Member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm pleased to continue speaking to this important legislation today. As we know, this is a bill that aims to expand the ability to respond to the non-consensual distribution of intimate images, including deepfakes and digitally altered content. It's an area where technology has moved quickly and laws must catch up and keep pace. So the bill before us is an opportunity to close some of these gaps, strengthen protections, and importantly, to ensure that the justice system has the tools it needs to respond effectively. I said this during the brief time that I had to speak to this bill late last week, but it bears repeating that we on this side of the House, and I am sure all members of this House, stand with victims who have had their intimate images or deep fakes of them shared, distributed, or posted online without their consent. And unfortunately, this is an issue that's impacted far too many Manitobans. It's an issue that's personal for so many because it's not a one-time incident. It's a prolonged intrusion and a prolonged violation of privacy. When an image becomes public, or even when someone threatens to publish it, one loses a measure of control over their privacy, dignity, and their safety. This can have long-standing impacts. Some people suffer anxiety, depression, panic attacks. Young people in particular struggle with how to respond to terrible incidents of this nature and often feel overwhelmed by shame and the social fallout. Adults might see their professional reputations damaged, and families experience fear and stress as they try to support their loved one through what can be a very traumatic experience. Historically, many victims have not come forward at all. They fear embarrassment, disbelief, or retaliation. They might worry that the justice system can't help them. Some don't know or fully understand what their rights are, and others believe that even if they report the harm, the image will still circulate. So if we want to reduce victimization, we must make reporting worthwhile. That means providing accessible remedies, meaningful enforcement, and ensuring that the courts can act quickly. It means assuring victims that their experience is valid and the legal system will take it seriously. And this bill incorporates some of those perspectives. It creates a statutory cause of action for threatening to distribute intimate images, and that's important. That gives people a faster, more direct route to seek relief, even when the harm is psychological and not just financial. It also signals, and this is true, that threats alone, even without distribution, are harmful enough to warrant legal consequences. This legislation affirms that we believe in strong penalties and consequences for those who distribute intimate images without consent, who threaten to do so, or who profit from exploiting others in this way. And let's be clear, these behaviors are not misunderstandings. They are deliberate acts. They exploit vulnerability, aim to intimidate, or seek to gain power or financial benefit at another person's expense. They deserve to be treated as serious wrongs. And it is appropriate for the law to impose consequences, civil, criminal, or both, that reflect the severity of the harm. In some cases, penalties serve to punish. In others, they function as deterrents. And in all cases, they communicate society's judgment that exploiting someone's intimate image is not a trivial offense, but a violation of autonomy. One of the elements of this bill is the establishment of a tort for threatening to distribute an intimate image. The threat alone is often enough to exert control over a victim. Many people comply with demands for money, demands for more images, demands for silence, because they fear what might happen if the image becomes public. It's called sextortion. It's an increasingly common dynamic, and it's particularly troubling when it occurs among youth. Creating a tort for threats gives victims a legal tool to respond before the situation escalates. It establishes a societal norm that coercion based on intimate content is unacceptable. And it creates consequences for harmful behavior that stops short of distribution but is still incredibly damaging. And very importantly, it deters wrongdoing. Bad actors need to see that the justice system can and will intervene early, not only after irreparable harm has occurred. So that measure will fill a current gap in our system. Passing laws is one step, and giving courts the necessary tools to enforce them is another. Courts need effective mechanisms to enforce publication bans and ensure internet providers cooperate in removing harmful images. Right now, takedown efforts can be slow, inconsistent, or ignored entirely. Many images reside on servers outside of Canada. Some platforms do not respond to legal orders. Others respond only selectively. If we expect victims to come forward, we must also provide them with a system that can actually reduce harm in the real world. Courts need clear authority to order removal of content, clarity on the obligations of platforms, and tools to enforce compliance when companies refuse to act. These measures will not solve everything because global jurisdictional challenges remain, but they can improve the practical reality for victims here in Manitoba. This leads to another central point. Internet providers must remove harmful intimate images when directed by a court. Without that requirement, the law is weakened. Victims may win in court, but the harm continues online. If we are serious about victim protection, cooperation from platforms is non-negotiable. This bill should move us closer to a system where internet providers, whether social media platforms, storage services, or hosting companies, cannot simply ignore court orders. That expectation should be clear, enforceable, and backed by consequences. We should recognize, too, that cooperation is not always technologically simple. Some providers need better mechanisms. Others operate across multiple jurisdictions, but none of these complexities are a reason to avoid creating obligations. If anything, they show why the law must be explicit. I think it's important when we debate this legislation to acknowledge the rapid shift in digital technology and the impact it has in this space. Artificial intelligence, deepfakes, and sophisticated image editing tools have made it easier than ever to create incredibly damaging, exploitative content without the victim's involvement. We are no longer dealing with cases where someone mishandles a consensual photo. Increasingly, a person's face can be placed convincingly onto another individual's body. Explicit images can be entirely fabricated. Once created, these deepfakes can be circulated, sold, or used for blackmail. Victims can be targeted even if they have never taken an intimate image in their life. This technology magnifies the harm and it complicates enforcement. It speaks to the need for regulations that confront AI-driven harms directly. Protecting youth and vulnerable Manitobans from deepfake exploitation is no longer optional. And the legislation we are debating today does not appear out of thin air. It builds on steps Manitoba has already taken. In 2022, initial legislation was introduced, and that received royal assent in 2023. That earlier bill laid groundwork. It clarified definitions, created certain remedies, and acknowledged the need for legal reform in this area. And this new legislation is the next logical step. It strengthens protections, it expands definitions, it introduces new legal tools, and it responds to developments that have occurred even in the last couple of years, especially around AI. Technology changes too quickly for a one-time legislative fix. Governments of all political stripes will have to keep updating this legislation to keep up. I think it's also important we recognize and acknowledge the work of those who have advised on this legislation. The Canadian Centre for Child Protection, headquartered here in Manitoba, consulted with government and provided guidance on many of the measures included in this act. This organization has decades of experience dealing with online exploitation, image-based abuse, and child protection. It understands how images circulate, how victims experience harm, how predators operate, and what tools are effective in getting images removed. So their support for this legislation is very important. It ensures that the measures reflect the reality faced by victims and not just the theory of legal frameworks. When those with frontline experience endorse stronger enforcement powers, broader definitions, and clearer civil remedies, we should take that seriously. Manitoba is not alone in needing to address this issue. Other jurisdictions have taken different approaches, and their experience is instructive. Australia uses a dual model of criminal law and practical support. New Zealand includes direct mediation and takedown processes. British Columbia recently modernized its civil remedies, particularly around deepfakes. What all these jurisdictions share is an understanding that a single legal tool is not enough. A criminal charge may bring justice, but it does not always remove content. A civil remedy may remove content, but it does not always deter offenders. Support services may help victims heal, but they cannot enforce compliance. A layered approach is necessary. Manitoba is moving toward that model, which is encouraging, but ongoing reform will likely be needed. This legislation alone won't solve all of these problems. It must be paired with education and effective communication. If Manitobans don't know their rights, they can't exercise them. If young people don't understand consent in a digital environment, legislation alone won't protect them. And I know that's something that I, as a parent, am challenged to communicate with my children about every day. It's an ongoing conversation. It's challenging, I think, for many parents to stay on top of the digital reality that our children are growing up in, and to communicate to them what their rights are, what their responsibilities are, how to consume content in an ethical and responsible way, and where to go if something is happening that they know is wrong. If platforms don't fear consequences, they won't cooperate. Education in schools, in workplaces, and online must accompany legal reform. This will also require public communication about this new tort, about takedown orders, and importantly, about supports available to victims. Laws that sit quietly on the books don't achieve their full purpose, and communication and education around this law in particular is going to be very important. When intimate images are shared without consent, the harm goes far beyond embarrassment. People can experience serious psychological consequences: anxiety, loss of self-confidence, distrust of relationships, depression. These are not abstract concerns. They are common patterns reported by victims of image-based abuse across countries and age groups. But the harm isn't limited to the emotional sphere. There are concrete social and material consequences. Victims have lost jobs, scholarship opportunities, and professional standing. Young people have seen educational prospects disrupted. And once an image circulates broadly online, it can be replicated indefinitely. That sense of permanence, the idea that something deeply personal may be beyond your control forever, is itself a significant part of the harm. The digital environment aggravates this damage. An image can be shared, copied, altered, and redistributed by people who were never part of its creation. Removing it is difficult and sometimes impossible. Even when content is successfully taken down, victims often describe living with the fear that copies remain somewhere online, waiting to resurface. And this bill attempts to catch up to a world where images are not only captured and shared, but also created. The rise of AI-generated intimate images, also known as deepfakes, has introduced a new and very troubling dimension to this problem. That matters. The psychological and social impact of a fabricated image can be nearly indistinguishable from that of a real one, because the reputational damage and loss of dignity feel the same. Existing laws don't clearly cover that category. This bill's expansion of the definition of intimate image acknowledges this gap. But we should be careful not to pretend that solving this is simple. Detecting deepfakes is already difficult. As the technology improves, distinguishing real from fake will get harder. Legislation can define the wrong, but enforcement will require ongoing investment in technical expertise, digital literacy, and cooperation with industry. Underreporting is a major barrier because many victims don't report image-based abuse at all. The reasons are predictable: shame, fear of not being believed, worry about retaliation, and a perception that the legal system is slow or ineffective in addressing these cases. The civil remedies in this bill, especially the ability to seek action without proving financial loss, will help address a real barrier. For many victims, the harm is largely psychological or reputational. Requiring them to demonstrate monetary damage would effectively bar them from any remedy. Earlier, I mentioned Australia, where states and territories adopted national principles in 2017. They criminalized non-consensual image sharing, but also recognized that criminal law alone doesn't help most victims. They paired punitive measures with practical supports, assistance with reporting, navigating takedowns, and accessing mental health services. In New Zealand, the Harmful Digital Communications Act created a system that goes beyond criminal charges. It includes communication principles, an agency dedicated to resolving complaints, and a process for quick takedown orders. It explicitly frames non-consensual image sharing as a form of harmful online conduct, not merely a privacy issue. In British Columbia, recent reforms broadened civil and enforcement options. They addressed the same technological gaps we are confronting today, including deepfakes and difficulty proving financial losses. Early evidence suggests victims are more willing to come forward when they know civil remedies are accessible and takedown procedures are available. If there is a common theme across these jurisdictions, it is this: a mix of criminal law, civil remedies, and practical assistance is more effective than relying on any one of them alone. This bill appears to follow that multi-layered model, expanding the definition of intimate images, creating a civil cause of action without a financial proof requirement, and enabling more direct interventions like takedown assistance are all constructive steps. But we should consider a few challenges. First, enforcement will require resources. Passing a law is the relatively easy part. Implementing it is harder. Agencies and organizations responsible for assisting victims need stable funding, training, and technical capacity. Otherwise, the promise of support becomes more symbolic than real. Second, Manitobans will need clear communication. Many Manitobans won't know this recourse exists unless government and community organizations actively educate the public. A law that people don't know about is an ineffective law. Third, platform cooperation remains a major gap. Many of the websites where intimate images circulate are outside of Manitoba's jurisdiction or operate anonymously. Even when takedown orders are issued, there is no guarantee of compliance, but that's not a reason to avoid legislating. We also need to recognize that non-consensual sharing of intimate images doesn't occur in a vacuum. It reflects broader societal attitudes about relationships, privacy, and control. This behavior stems from an abuse of trust, an erroneous belief that once someone has shared an intimate moment, they have surrendered their right to privacy. Nothing could be further from the truth. And legislation like this is in part about correcting that idea. Consent to create an image is not consent to distribute it. Consent once given is not consent forever. And consent cannot be implied for an image that was never real in the first place. Passing this bill won't fully eliminate this problem. No jurisdiction has solved it fully. But it should improve our ability to respond, to support victims, and to hold people accountable when they distribute intimate images without consent. It will require better education in schools about digital consent, privacy, and respectful relationships. It will require continued engagement with platforms and federal authorities on content regulation. It will require support in the form of mental health professionals to assist victims. This law will require continued updates if technological developments continue to create new vulnerabilities. This legislation is about ensuring that when someone's privacy, dignity, or autonomy is violated, they have a clear path to regain control. It brings Manitoba in line with what other jurisdictions are already doing and addresses gaps in the current framework. And it confronts the reality that technology has changed the nature of harm in ways we cannot ignore. The problem is serious, but the solutions will need continual refinement. We can't pretend that this bill will solve everything. This bill should serve to ensure that Manitobans who experience this form of abuse, because that's what it is, abuse, are better protected than they were yesterday, and that we continue adapting as the landscape evolves. For those reasons, I support the intent of this legislation, but I also recognize the ongoing work required to make its protections effective in practice. We must continue to strengthen protection for victims, affirm consequences for those who would exploit people. We must give courts the tools they need to enforce publication bans and takedowns, acknowledge and respond to the threat posed by AI and deepfakes. We must insist on cooperation from internet providers and listen to and incorporate the input from experts like the Canadian Centre for Child Protection. These steps will protect Manitobans, but especially youth, vulnerable individuals, and anyone targeted by modern digital exploitation. There will still be challenges. Enforcement will require resources. Education will be essential. Technology will continue to evolve. But this is about taking a meaningful step towards a fairer, safer, and more responsive system that stands with victims and holds wrongdoers accountable. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Morden Winkler.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker, today I rise to discuss Bill 2, the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images Amendment Act. The non-consensual distribution of intimate images is a serious issue affecting thousands of people across our province of Manitoba. This is a timely discussion, given that across Canada, we are currently recognizing activism against gender-based violence, which is a very close topic to my heart. Honourable Deputy Speaker, every member of this House knows that the misuse of intimate images has become one of the fastest growing forms of modern abuse. It happens quietly, sometimes secretly, often through phones, social media, or private messages. But the effects are anything but quiet. I want to speak from the heart about this issue, this issue that touches many lives, especially the lives of our children, our youth, and our young adults. The world that they are growing up in is very different from the one many of us knew. Technology brings opportunities, but it also brings dangers that can cause real and lasting harm. And it is our responsibility as elected officials, as families, as communities, and as a society to protect them. I remember when I was growing up, a young girl, my dad would take me aside and give me talks about how I needed to be careful when I walked to and home from school, not talking to strangers. And there was a lot of control that he had over me as a young woman, as a young girl. But we don't have those controls over kids anymore with the new technology that we have. So as parents and as moms and dads and families, we need to make sure that we take that extra time to spend with our kids and teach them about technology and how the technology, it comes into our homes, it comes into our kids' bedrooms, and it's not the same as it was when we were as us parents were grown up for. So we need to really just be cognizant of that. The distribution of intimate images without consent is a deeply harmful act. It is not simply an invasion of privacy. It's a violation that can destroy someone's sense of safety, undermine their mental health, and cause lasting emotional and social harm. These incidents often occur in contexts where trust has been betrayed, where power imbalances exist, or where an individual, most often a woman or girl, is targeted as a form of intimidation, harassment, or control. The impacts are devastating, emotionally, physically, psychologically, socially, and in some cases have even resulted in suicide. Victims feel loss of safety, a loss of control, and in many cases, the loss of trust in the people and systems that were meant to protect them. Data shows that police reports of incidents involving distribution of a non-consensual intimate images have risen up to 80%, with young girls being victims in 86% of those cases. So we acknowledge that adults and youth, women, young adults and children, that it happens to all of them. We know, or 80%, sorry. We know that shame, fear, and helplessness felt by victims often prevent them from speaking up or seeking help. That is why we must ensure that anyone who experiences this kind of violation feels supported, believed, and able to come forward without judgment. We need to listen to and respect the views of those intimate images that have been broadcast, distributed, or published on the internet. We must also guarantee that their privacy will be protected as much as we can, and that they can trust the system in place to safeguard their dignity and well-being. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Bill 2 represents an important step forward in our ongoing efforts to protect Manitobans, youth and children, and upholding their dignity, safety, and fundamental right to privacy. This new bill expands definitions and builds on the original act brought forward by the PC government back in 2022 by our PC Justice Minister, the Honourable Member from Steinbach at the time. It was Bill 27, which amended the Intimate Images Protection Act. Bill 2 represents the next step in Manitoba's ongoing effort to strengthen legislation that protects people, our young adults, our children, from the non-consensual distribution of intimate images. As technology has evolved, so too has the nature of online harm. Bill 2 builds on that evolving legislative framework by introducing additional measures that have been clearly supported and strongly advocated for by stakeholders across the country. Stakeholders who work every day to protect children, youth, and young adults from the kinds of abuse that can occur in digital spaces. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank the Canadian Centre for Child Protection for all their work in bringing forward these ideas to strengthen the legislation we have here in Manitoba. Organizations like this are what keep things coming forward to us, to constantly push us to make change and to constantly make our legislation stronger and better when it comes to protecting young adults and children. If we truly want to stop the spread of harmful intimate images, the courts must have the tools to compel internet service providers and digital intermediaries to act quickly and efficiently. This bill strengthens the authority of courts to require the removal of images from websites, the detection of images from indexes, and hold internet intermediaries accountable who host and share context online. We must all work together with the same common goal to protect those vulnerable and those that are victims in our society. One of victims' greatest challenges is getting images taken down, even after the court order is issued. This legislation addresses that barrier and needs to be done and brought forward. Another major advancement of Bill 2 is the creation of a new tort for threatening to distribute an intimate image. Blackmail is another word for that, threat. Honorable Deputy Speaker, threats alone can destroy someone's mental health, force someone into silence, and can be used as tools of coercion, extortion, or abuse. By establishing this tort, further consequences are created for those who use threats to provide victims with a legal, for those who use threats and provide victims with a legal course of action to take the defendants to the court and strengthen deterrence against bad actors, so fewer Manitobans face this kind of harm. And I just want to bring forward just a real quick, in this situation specifically, human trafficking is definitely, it's something that happens in our country and in our province and in our communities. It can be the result of a youth or young adult sharing intimate or a deep image or deep fake images made using somebody's face. Criminals use these pictures and they extort, they use those pictures to threaten them and coax them to do the things that they want them to do. And this is human trafficking. And we need to be more cognizant of how these things are happening in our communities and in our homes. It happens in every community it can happen. And we just had this stakeholder meeting last week, and we met with the Joyce Smith Foundation. And we learned a lot about the situations that are used to create the victims, how they create those situations where they are doing the things that they don't want to do because of the intimate images and different reasons. But definitely their extortion is happening, the abuse is happening. And the Joyce Smith Foundation definitely is advocating in Manitoba and across Canada for victims. And it's just a great opportunity to speak and bring them forward. And if you're wanting to know more information, I would suggest looking them up and getting on board with helping them to make sure that we all protect those that are victims of intimate image distribution and extortion. Honorable Deputy Speaker, threats alone can destroy someone's mental health. It can destroy their will to succeed in life. It can affect them permanently. This is a definite situation we need to take seriously. This new bill, Bill 2, is also introducing some measures clearly supported and put forward by stakeholders who are working to protect children, such as the Joy Smith Foundation. And young adults, they're here to protect young children, young adults in Canada from the kind of abuse that can result during online activity where youth are sharing information and pictures without realizing that the devastating results that could happen. Many may not know that they are dealing with on the other end of the communication as well. This bill also addresses situations where cultural differences apply, such as when an intimate image may be a full nude, but still have a huge cultural, psychological impact if the victim's culture is considered a private, intimate, or it can really be affect them in a large way. It affects all children across every cultural boundary. Honourable Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, the legislation brought forward so far by both former PC government and now under the current legislature, it's an important bill, and we are all sitting here with the hope and goal that this will be enacted as soon as possible to protect young people, vulnerable people, boys and girls, young women and young men, and that they will be provided tools to both prevent and bring justice to these victims. Honourable Speaker, going forward, more needs to be done. We must not stop here. We must continue to work to get this eradicated. This is a serious issue, not only in Manitoba, but across our country. We need the federal government to also step up and take action through the criminal code and stronger laws to protect vulnerable Manitobans and Canadians from coercion, blackmailing, and manipulation of both youth and adult victims alike. We need stronger bail. We need to make sure that people that are doing these things are put in jail. Bill 2 is an important step forward in protecting Manitobans from all of these things that we mentioned. It reflects the voices of victims and stakeholders across the country, and it offers greater security to those who are affected by this violence. We need to talk about education as well. We need to make sure that young people understand the risks they may be facing online. We need to give them the guidance and education to keep them safe, just like I did receive from my dad when I was a younger girl about how to be careful when I walked home from school and how to make sure that I kept myself as safe as I could. And to make sure I understood that there was danger out there, and we need to make sure that my dad wanted to make sure that I knew that. But even more importantly, we must build systems that protect these young women and children, young adults, when things go wrong. No young person should ever feel alone or helpless because someone has chosen to hurt them through the misuse of technology. Today, we stand with all victims whose intimate images, real or fake, have been shared or threatened to be shared without their consent. These victims often carry a heavy, painful burden. Many feel ashamed, afraid, and completely overwhelmed. Some are young teens, young adults just starting out their lives, and all of them have our support, compassion, and understanding. I want to encourage you, if you had any experience with this, to please go talk to your parent, go talk to an adult, somebody you trust, because there is hope, and there is a hope out there for you, and we will help make sure that you receive the care that you need. We want you to know that we see you, we believe you, and we stand with you. This is why we believe so strongly that there must be serious penalties for anyone who posts, distributes, or even threatens to distribute intimate images without consent. These are not small acts. They are acts that can destroy confidence, relationships, mental health, and the hope of one's future. They can hurt not only victims, but also their families, those who love you and love these young people that are being taken advantage of. The people who do these things must face real consequences because the harm they cause is real. But penalties alone are not enough. Our courts need the tools to enforce publication bans and to compel internet service providers and platforms to remove harmful images quickly and completely. We need to make sure that we report things that are inappropriate and support those that need our support that way. Too often, victims beg for help while their images stay online, continuing to cause pain every minute they remain there. That should never happen. We must do better, and Bill 2 is a step forward for that. But we must continue to work, we must continue to support and make change whenever we can at every opportunity. Removing harmful content should be a priority always, not a slow and difficult process, not one where victims need to advocate and work hard to do that. We should be doing that right away for them. We also believe that creating a tort for threatening to distribute an intimate image is an essential step. Many victims suffer long before the image is ever shared. The threat alone can cause terrible fear, panic, significant emotional harm, and physical harm, where you hear devastating stories of a young person dying by suicide. By making these threats legally actionable, we give victims another way to protect themselves and another path to justice. There needs to be really strong consequences when there's threats like that happening. We must take it seriously every single time to protect victims and to let others know that this is not something that should be allowed and that we will have a zero tolerance for that. This tort would act as a strong deterrent, showing clearly that these threats are unacceptable and will not be ignored. And it gives victims a practical way to seek compensation and accountability, helping them regain a sense of control during one of the most frightening experiences of their lives. We need to make sure we have enough services for victims. We need to make sure we have enough support for victims. And the mental health side, we need to increase our mental health supports also for victims that are going through this kind of situation or any kind of situation when it comes to being exploited in every which way. We must protect our young people, we must protect our children. We must do all we can to make sure we educate and take care of all of them. But beyond laws and rules, this is also about how we treat each other. We must teach our children and youth what consent truly means. We must show them why respect, both online and offline, matters so deeply. We must have honest conversations, even when they're uncomfortable, and even when we're uncomfortable. Because when young people understand the impact of their actions, they are far less likely to harm someone else. And that comes to both sides. I talked about how my dad taught me how to be safe, but we also need to teach all of our children to make sure that they're never going to be the one who does these things. Because every single person that extorts or does any of these things with intimate images also had a mother, also had a father, also had people around them. And they need to constantly, we need to remind every single person and parent that this is an education situation that we should be teaching all children and young people about. It comes with us, it starts with us as parents, as school teachers, as mentors, whatever it is that you do. If you have a place to be and speak into somebody's life, it's our responsibility to make sure we teach them about respect and about how to honor those around us and cherish things that they need to cherish. And that's why we need to make sure as parents we do that. And that part is also teaching our children how they deserve respect and what that looks like. And having those honest and uncomfortable conversations. Because when young people understand the impact, again, I'm going to read that again. When young people understand the impact of their actions, whether they're a victim or they're the one who's doing it, they are far less likely to harm someone else. And when they know they are loved, supported, and not alone, they are far more likely to reach out for help when they need it. Every single child and young adult needs to have that safe person. This is always something I've always taught my children. When we were foster parents, I always taught my fostered kids that too. We always made sure they had that safe person. No matter what happened, they could go talk to them. And I think that's a really good lesson for all of us, to make sure that we have that open channel always with our young people and our children. This is not just a legal issue, it's a human issue. It's about dignity, safety, and a basic right to live without fear that someone will use your image or your body to hurt you. So let's commit to doing better for the victims who are healing, for the families who are supporting them, and for the young people who deserve to grow up in a world that protects them. We need to continue to make stronger laws to protect our children and young adults. Let's support strong education. Let's talk about education and what that looks like in a real tangible way. Let's support each other. And above all, let us support every person who has been harmed. So important that we do that. I just want to recap a couple important points. That this bill gives the person depicted in an intimate image the right to have their view taken into account when publication bans is requested in a court case, likely to ensure that the person is not victimized by a republication, to give the court some direction and rationale to issue a publication ban. The bill also establishes a new tort, cause of action for threatening to distribute an intimate image. The bill also expands the power of the court to make orders relating to intimate images publication bans, including requiring internet service providers to remove intimate images from their online platforms. It expands the definition of intimate images and provides specific examples of when distribution may be in the public interest. These changes are intended to strengthen the current act and expand on the protections of individuals who have been victimized. And that is our goal, to expand protection and hold those that are accountable or guilty accountable. These changes intend to strengthen the current act and expand on the protections, again, of individuals who have been victimized. These are very common sense protections that will help protect Manitobans and our young ones from harm involved in the distribution and publication of intimate images on the internet. The PC Party and Caucus would support this protections of all Manitobans and our young people. This bill is closely related to previous legislation brought forward by the government in Bill 24 in 2024. And it is related to proposed legislation that MLA Stone had drafted prior to Bill 24.
Order. I'll just remind members, you have to refer to other members by their constituency or their portfolio. The honourable member for Morden Winkler.
Thank you. The member from Midland brought forward in the first session of this legislature. We believe in strong penalties and consequences for those that would threaten publication, victimize others, or profit from a non-consensual publication and exploitation of intimate images, and that the courts need tools to enforce publication bans to ensure internet providers cooperate in removing these images from the internet. Above all else, let us support every person who has been harmed by non-consensual sharing or threatening of intimate images. You are not alone. We are standing with you again, and we will continue to fight for safer, kinder, and more reasonable digital spaces and for education so that we can protect and give the tools to those that really need it and to keep them safe from every single predator out there. And we will continue to support Bill 2. And I thank you, Deputy Speaker, for listening to me today. This is a very important legislation. Thank you.
The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. I'm proud today to stand here in the House to put a few words on the record regarding the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images and Amendment Act. And again, I think it is something that has touched a lot of people, not only in this province, but throughout Canada. Today I want to talk about Bill 2, formerly called the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images Amendment Act in Manitoba. This law updates and strengthens Manitoba's existing protections against the sharing or even the threatening to share someone's intimate images without their consent. To understand this bill, it helps to know a little bit of the context. We now live in a world that is much different than the world that we lived in 15 or 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago, where almost everyone has a smartphone. Photos and videos can be taken instantly, saved automatically, and shared worldwide within seconds. At the same time, new technologies like AI, deep fakes, image editing tools, and live streaming platforms make it easier than ever to create, alter, or spread intimate photos, and harder than ever to control them once they're online. Again, I think this is something that we need to talk about because younger kids nowadays, and it seems to be younger and younger every day, seem to have a phone with them. Unfortunately, this has led to serious harms. Some of those include revenge porn, where someone shares an ex-partner's photos to embarrass or punish them. Again, those people, and we've seen it before, where it has been so much for them, and again, they haven't had any help or don't feel like they have any help. They're too embarrassed about it, and a lot of times they'll take their own lives. Blackmail and extortion especially targets the youth, and that's so important, again, for teachers in Manitoba here as well as across Canada, that we make sure that we are having open conversations about the damages that can be done by non-consensual distribution of intimate images. Deepfake porn created without a person's knowledge. Images of sexual assault survivors being circulated. Private photos being exposed in group chats, social media, or public websites. Victims experiencing anxiety, humiliation, shame, or even suicidal thoughts. I know I was a victim myself not long ago of some animal abuse that went on the internet. And again, for somebody like me that's a little older, it was extremely disturbing. But the other issue with it is I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to get rid of it. I didn't know how to stop spreading it. Manitoba was one of the first provinces to create a civil law to help victims of non-consensual image sharing. But after several years of experience, it became clear that the original law needs updates. It needs to reflect new technology, to close loopholes, and to offer stronger remedies. And that's what Bill 2 does. It modernizes the law. It strengthens protection, it empowers victims, and it clarifies responsibilities for individuals and internet platforms. What this bill does in simple terms, the bill makes several major improvements. It broadens the definition of an intimate image. This means more types of sensitive images are protected by law, not just classic nude photos. It recognizes deep fake and AI-generated intimate images. Even if an image is fake, if it appears to show you nude or in a sexual situation, the law is there to protect you. It protects people even if the person in the image is not identifiable. For example, if your face isn't visible, but someone could still harm you by distributing it. It creates a new legal remedy for threats. Even if the image isn't shared yet, threatening to share it now is legally actionable. It expands victims' rights to get images removed online. Courts can now order individuals and sometimes platforms to delete, remove, or de-index images. It clarifies how public interest exceptions work. Being a public figure doesn't give anyone the right to share your intimate images. It requires court to consider the victim's wishes when deciding whether to issue a publication ban. It modernizes definitions to include live streams and other contemporary forms of sharing of image sharing. Altogether, Bill 2 gives Manitoba stronger protection, clearer rights, and more meaningful remedies. There is some key changes that need to be explained. So let's go deeper into those important changes. A much broader definition of intimate image. Under the old law, protections mostly applied to images showing someone nude or engaged in an explicit sexual activity. But people were being harmed even when their images were partially nude, nearly nude, suggestive, cropped, blurred or edited, screenshots from video chats, taken without that person's knowledge. Bill 2 specifically expands the definition to include nude images, nearly nude images, partially exposed private areas, explicit sexual activity. Images taken or shared in circumstances where privacy is expected. This expansion makes the law much more practical. Harm doesn't depend on whether the victim happened to be 100% nude. The harm is in violation and sharing. protection even when the person is not identifiable. This is a very important update. Before, if someone posted an intimate image but the person's face wasn't visible, the distributor could try to avoid liability by saying, "You can't prove that it's you in the photo." Bill 2 fixes that. Now it doesn't matter whether the person is identifiable or not. Why? Because the victim can still be harmed. People close to the victim may know it's them. The victim may fear the image spreading. The violation is in the lack of consent, not in the clarity of the image. This changes the focus from, can you prove it's you, to, did someone use an image of a person in a vulnerable, intimate state without consent? This is a major improvement for victims. Protection for fake, altered, and AI-generated images. This is one of the biggest and most forward-thinking parts of the bill. The law now protects people from deep fake pornography, AI-generated nude images, digitally altered images, faces pasted onto sexual images, fake videos or animation, recreations. Even if the image is not real, it is still harmful and still illegal to share without consent. Victims of deep fakes often experience the same psychological and reputational damage as victims of real image sharing. Again, when a lot of this happens too, and where it's so important to know what's on your kid's phone, how they're using those phones, how they're using their computers or iPads, it's very important that parents are checking into this. Under the new law, creating a fake intimate image, sharing a fake intimate image, threatening to share a fake intimate image are all legally actionable. This is extremely important because teenagers, female students, teachers, athletes, and public figures, especially young women, have been increasingly targeted with deepfake sexual content. Bill 2 directly responds to modern digital abuse, adding live streams and visual recordings. A lot of intimate content is now shared via Snapchat, Instagram Live, WhatsApp video, Zoom, FaceTime, TikTok Live, or other streaming apps. Someone could secretly live stream a person changing, showering, or being intimate without recording it. The old laws didn't clearly include live streams. Bill 2 fixes that by adding the terms visual recordings, which includes live broadcasts. So, secret live streaming or live streaming someone's intimate moments without consent is now treated the same as recording and sharing a photo. New tort, threatening to share images. This is a major change. Under the old law, a person often had to wait until the image was actually shared before taking legal action. That created unnecessary trauma. Again, when kids or people are worried that they've had an intimate picture taken, they're worried, where will it show up? When will it show up? Why will it show up? A lot of times people are being extorted out of money, out of different things in order to keep their intimate images from being shown. Bill 2 now makes it clear Threatening to distribute an intimate image is a legal wrong in itself. This applies even if the image doesn't exist, the person doesn't actually intend to share it, the threat is used for coercion, the threat is part of a bullying or harassment. And we hear that every day. We hear that, not only young people are harassed with this, but also older people as well are harassed with this. This is extremely helpful in cases like a partner threatening, if you leave me, I'll post those pictures. A classmate saying, send me more or I'll post what you've sent already. An online predator threatening a child for sextortion. Again, this is a horrible thing for young people to have to deal with, especially young people out there that are vulnerable, especially people out there that may not have someone that they can feel comfortable with in talking to about what's happening here. It can cause more anxiety. It can cause issues leading to things like suicide. Again, this is very important that we're talking about this in Bill 2. Victims can get court orders for takedowns and removal. This is one of the most practical and powerful parts of the bill. Bill 2 explicitly gives court authority to order the following. Number 1, order against the person who shared the image. Courts can require the distributor to delete all copies, remove the posts, stop further sharing, contact websites where they've been posted, request takedown from platforms, remove the image from cloud sharing, give sworn statements approving deletion. Again, this gets into a problem, especially with younger people. Number 2, orders against internet platforms. Courts can order a platform to take down hosted images, remove posts, delete user-generated content, disable access to the content, de-index or remove search engine results. This is crucial because once an item is online, you need more than a court case against one individual. You need removal from websites and search results. The bill gives courts proper authority to make this happen. Courts must consider victims' wishes about publication bans. Under the old law, courts could decide whether to issue a publication ban, but victims didn't always have much input. Bill 2 changes that. When deciding whether to protect the victim's identity, allow their name to be published, or protect the details in the case, the court must consider, what does the victim want? Do they want privacy, or do they want the right to speak publicly about what happens? This empowers victims to have a voice. And I hope that people are listening to me out there, especially younger people, to remember out there, your voice is important. Your voice is needed to make sure that none of this happens to you. This empowers the victims to have a voice. Internet platforms definition and responsibility. Bill 2 clarifies what an internet intermediary is. A platform, a hosting service, a search engine, or any service storing or indexing content posted by users. This can include Facebook, Instagram, Google search, TikTok, Pornhub, Reddit, cloud storage platforms. The law says Platforms are not automatically liable if they take reasonable steps, but courts can still order platforms to remove or de-index content. This balances protecting the victims and not forcing platforms to act as police for every uploaded piece of media. Why these changes matter. Let's break down why these changes are so meaningful. The law finally reflects modern digital reality. People now face harms that didn't exist even 10 years ago, or for that matter, even 5 years ago. This is an area that it continues to move. It also puts people into these platforms that have negative thoughts and have no worry for the victims that are out there. Deep fake, AI-generated sexual content, private content leaked in group chats, secret recordings, live stream, sextortion targeting youth. Without modernization, the law simply couldn't keep up. The bill brings the law into 2025 and beyond. But this doesn't mean the end. Again, as technology continues to move, this will have to be re-looked at again. Young people are especially vulnerable. They often trust partners or friends. They may not understand the risks of sending images. Sextortion cases among teens has absolutely surged. Deepfakes can be created from a single selfie. Bill 2 recognizes these images. Bill 2 recognizes these issues and gives them real tools. Real tools like legal protection, takedown powers, remedies for threats, protection from fake images. It acknowledges emotional and psychological harm. Victims often experience shame, fear, panic attacks, depression, school avoidance, workplace harm, relationship breakdown. And that is so true. And again, I think we must look for the signs of that in our own homes, in our friends' homes, anyone where there's children or people that could be affected by this. The harm is not just that the image was shared, it's a violation of trust, privacy, and dignity. Threats are taken seriously. Many victims remain in abusive situation because of threats. The new law recognizes that threats alone are powerful tools of coercion. I think it's interesting, too, that so much of this goes on the internet, and I think it's up to to all parents to make sure you know what your kids are looking at on the internet and what might be affecting them in a negative way. It helps reduce online spread. Courts now have clear authority to order takedowns, force deletion, contact platforms, remove images at the source. This is essential because once an image is online, the harm continues to multiply. It protects people who are not clearly identifiable. This closes a major loophole where abusers would say, "You can't prove it's you." Now, victims don't have to prove it. The focus is on the wrongful act, not the victim's ability to identify themselves in the image. Limitation and realistic expectations. While Bill 2 is a strong improvement, it's important to be realistic. This is a civil law, not a criminal one. It allows victims to sue, get injunctions, and get takedowns, but it doesn't send people to jail under the Act. Online removal is not always perfect. Courts can order platforms to help, but once content is widely shared, total removal can be challenging. Reasonable steps for platforms is still open to interpretation. Different platforms may respond differently. Victims still need to pursue civil action. That can be emotionally and financially difficult. Though legal assistance is often available, Bill 2 does 4 major things. It modernizes definitions to include deep fakes, live streams, non-identifiable images, and nearly nude images. Add strong remedies, including takedowns from people and platforms, creates a legal remedy for threats, preventing coercion and abuse, empowers victims, recognizing their private rights and their voice in a court process. This bill recognizes that intimate images, whether real, fake, altered, or threatened, can profoundly impact someone's dignity, safety, and mental health. Bill 2 gives Manitobans stronger protection against revenge porn, sextortion, deepfake pornography, cyberbullying, and online exploitation. I'd also like to share a few more words. We support and stand with victims who have had their intimate images or deepfakes distributed or placed on the internet. We believe in strong penalties and consequences for those that would threaten publication, victimize others, or profit from non-consensual publications and exploitation of intimate images. The courts need tools to enforce publication bans and ensure internet providers cooperate in removing images that can cause great emotional harm, mental health crises for victims and their families. The RCMP are involved in a project now, again, looking for internet porn, also to make sure that we are taking care of kids out there, making sure that they aren't being taken advantage of. By establishing a tort for threatening to distribute an intimate image, there will be a deterrence and a consequence for these harmful actions so that we have less victims, and those that are victimized will have more legal tools to get justice and a remedy. With artificial intelligence, deep fakes, and prevalence of conflicts online and in social media usage, it is time to bring in more regulations and laws to correct these wrongs and protect our youth, victims, and vulnerable persons from exploitive and harmful action by bad people. We need to make sure internet providers will remove these harmful intimate images when directed by a court. We need to listen to and respect the views of those whose intimate images have been broadcast, distributed, or published on the internet. Those who have had their images need to be listened to by the courts and the government. The Canadian Centre for Child Protection has consulted with government on this legislation and has put forward many measures in this act to strengthen Manitoba's laws and address the various circumstances that arise. We brought forward some initial legislation in 2022 that received royal assent in 23, and this new legislation is the next logical step to increase protection for vulnerable Manitobans and vulnerable youth. Bill 2 addresses a very important issue that can affect any Manitoban, but in particular has had a very negative impact on many youth who have been the subject of coercion through the threats and abusive or manipulative relationships. Drugs also play a huge part in what's going on here. Bad folks will use someone's intimate images and threats to release those images to manipulate young people and sometimes children and teenagers. This can have dire results on those individuals' mental health, and in some cases, as I've said before, has even resulted in suicide. I want to thank the Canadian Centre for Child Protection for all of their work in bringing these ideas to strengthen the legislation we have here in Manitoba. We know that technology and the world and culture that our children and young adults are living in changes so rapidly, and we need to give the public and the courts and our Crown attorneys the tools to address these terrible actions taken against our citizens and often young and vulnerable persons. We have seen both young women and young men victimized by online predators or people in the community with threats to release their images publicly in a way to manipulate them into doing things they don't want to and exploit their fears. I'm running close to the end of my time here, but again, I think it's so important for our youth to know that we want to stand for them. We want to make sure that they are not victimized by anyone out there. Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker.
No further members wishing to speak. Is the House ready? The Honourable Member for Lac Du Bonnet.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Gives me great pleasure to stand today and talk about Bill 2. The reason why the little bit of the pause before I stood up to put a few words on the record, because, Honourable Speaker, once again, we're here in this incredible chamber. It's a privilege and an honor to stand and put a few words on the record. But not only that, but it's to sit in these hallowed halls and listen to various different perspectives on different bills coming forward. Since Bill 2 was brought forward by the current Attorney General, Justice Minister, you would have thought, Honourable Speaker, that something as important on the topic of intimate images and the protection of, you would have thought that the current government possibly would have put up another speaker on the topic. It's interesting that the Justice Minister, and I had to ask one of my colleagues, or just basically take a look through Hansard, and the Justice Minister stood up when he introduced Bill 2 and had the current Education Minister second it. But once again, it seems that it's the government side, the NDP, want to be here and attend and go and door knock and whatever else, and then when they get lucky and get elected, they then don't want to put the work in. And so they don't want to come and put a few words on the record. I understand that the Minister for Sport, Culture and Heritage, it sounds like she wants to put a few words on the record. And I gave the time in between my colleague, the MLA for Portage-La Prairie, and somebody from the NDP side to stand up and put any words of support to this bill on the record, Honourable Speaker. I'm hoping that the hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are watching this afternoon are taking note that the NDP basically they're just sort of one and done. The Justice Minister comes in, he introduces the bill, gets a seconder, and not even the seconder can be bothered to stand up and put some words on the record in support of Bill 2, the Non-Consensual Distribution of Intimate Images Amendment Act, Honourable Speaker. I think it just shows that, to take a quote from the Families Minister, when they show you who they are, believe them. I see the laziness on a day-to-day basis coming from the NDP benches, and I felt that because Bill 2 seems like a very important issue, of course, not seems like, it is a very important issue. And this is adding on amendments to what we had done when we were in government in 2023, Bill 27, which received royal assent the end of May of 2023. And basically, the key effects of that amendment was that the distribution of an intimate image is now presumed to have occurred without consent. And the person who distributed the image must now establish that the person in the image consented to the distribution. Honourable Speaker, we're seeing things in this chamber and in this great province of ours on a day-to-day basis that is happening. The inaction of the Justice Minister, who sits right beside the Education Minister, and the Education Minister is silent on this topic. What are they doing, Honourable Speaker? How are they helping our vulnerable students, Honourable Speaker? It is absolutely, I don't even have a word for it, Honourable Speaker. I can't even believe that that these individuals who want to, on a daily basis, stand up and crow about whatever they're doing, things are getting worse, Honourable Speaker. Whether it's justice, whether it's education, whether it's health care, whether it's affordability and the finance minister, things are getting worse. And they will not stand up in this House and even put words on the record. They will after today, Honourable Speaker. Mark my words, they will stand up, and if they don't, shame on them. This is their legislation. They can't even be bothered to get up and put a few words on the record. The Minister for Advanced Education seems to want to put a few words on the record, Honourable Speaker, so I'm hoping that she is lining up behind her colleagues to get up and put some words on the record. Honourable Speaker, Bill 2 addresses a very important issue that can affect many Manitobans, but in particular, it has had a very negative effect on many of the youth who have been subject of the coercion through threats and abusive or manipulative relationships. Honourable Speaker, in the short time I have left for this afternoon, I have to say that the tone from our side of the chamber in support of Bill 2 has been incredible. Incredible. And I know that there's some members from the NDP side that are laughing that the member for Portage-la Prairie talks about tic-tac instead of tick-tock. He knows what it actually is, but it just shows that the members on the NDP side, that's all they're about. They're more about showmen than statesmen.
Order, please. When this matter is again before the House, the honourable member will have 24 minutes remaining. The hour being 5 o'clock, this House is adjourned and stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.